This film is purely fictional. Please do not imitate it. Your like and subscribe are the motivation for me to update. Chapter 1077. Although the enemy has 10 5th level puppets, they are puppets without artifacts, which are far worse than normal puppets. After struggling to the end, I actually let fragile creatures challenge me. I'm really looking for death. Scarlet sneered disdainfully, and the artifact book in his hand fell to the ground. The surrounding terrain quickly turned into an endless pool of blood. Countless scarlet monsters without skin crawled out of it wailing, and murderous intent was everywhere. Calvin, who was half dead before, was lifted up by the tyrannical monster and swallowed in 2 bites like eating bread, and blood was splashed. Disaster has come, goddess, save us! The people of Dawn Town were scared and fled in all directions. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The tyrannical monster and the puppets sent countless red missiles towards Field. Don't play a one-on-one duel. The other side has so many puppets, it's not easy to deal with them. Rosaria will deal with the small fish, and hey, you will be responsible for beheading. Field's body exploded and retreated. There are too many civilians. If there are too many casualties, or if the Obsidian Empire finds out, it will not be a good result. Leave it to me. The gluttonous great sword trembled, and the chains were like a group of snakes, intercepting a large number of long-range means. Heiyu's fingers casually hooked, and the raven feather sword split into 2 into 4, and in a blink of an eye it turned into 4 or 500 swords, madly absorbing the surrounding divine power. The dense raven feather swords, sweeping with fierce murderous intent, passed through the gaps in the chains, and shot at the tyrannical creatures that crawled out. The spine-chilling cutting sound kept ringing. A large number of tyrannical monsters were pierced, and the raven feather swords bombarded the puppets' divine shields, bursting out brilliant flames. Bone thorns. A god-chosen puppet crossed his hands, and used the god-chosen's powerful body to knock the raven feather sword away. His mouth was torn to the root of his ears, and sharp bone spurs shot out. The bone spurs exploded in the air and instantly turned into thousands of purple lights, which could not be detected by the naked eye. Be careful of poisoning. Cooperate, corrupt dragon. Rosaria swung her sword domineeringly, cutting open the space, and the huge corrupt dragon claws stretched out. Ding ding dang dang, the fine collision sound continued, and the corrupt dragon blocked all the attacks. Endless slash. Seizing the opportunity, Rosaria blasted out violent sword energy, and the dragon claws on her side also copied the endless slash. The violent monsters along the way were all crushed into blood mist by the 2 endless slashes. The 2 god-chosen puppets tried their best to block it. The mixed sword energy was like a storm, hitting the steel plate crazily, making a terrifying explosion. The sword energy rolled over, and the 2 god-chosen puppets were shattered into dust. Not so good. Rosaria stomped her feet triumphantly, and her snow-white thighs shook slightly. Huh, is that so? A sneer sounded in her ears, and Scarlet suddenly appeared behind Rosaria. At the moment of the sword energy attack, she quickly moved behind Rosaria through the blood pool on the ground. Go to hell, use your corpse to teach you a lesson. 5th level divine skill, bloody heartbreak. With a single hand, the divine power like a surging tide gathered and quickly wrapped Scarlet's entire right hand, and a huge energy claw suddenly emerged. She shouted and grabbed Rosaria fiercely. Don't even think about it, the burial divine skill. Heiyu opened the sword domain, and picked up the main sword of a crow feather sword. Heiyu didn't even need to infuse it specially. As the first divine skill he obtained, Heiyu was already thoroughly familiar with the operation of this divine skill. The seemingly random bombardment covered hundreds of meters. Scarlet failed to shoot out the divine skill, and hit the burial heaven divine skill first. The 2 divine skills collided with each other, and the sound of bang was like waves hitting rocks, and even Field, who was watching the battle from a distance, couldn't help but have a buzzing in his ears. The violent energy fight, collision, and explosion close to the face made Scarlet stand still and try his best to resist. I hope your head is hard enough. Rosaria chuckled, urged the Eclipse Star divine skill, and charged to hit Scarlet's head. The terrifying sound of breaking wind swept through, and being hit on the head by Rosaria's face, even with a pseudo-6 body. It was inevitable that the head would be broken. At the critical moment, a god-chosen puppet sprinted over. The whole body was shining with golden light, and it withstood the Eclipse Star divine skill, but the price was to be strangled into slag. The surging aftermath blasted Scarlet back and rolled twice in the air before stabilizing his body. The originally neat clothes had 3 or 4 holes, and a soft light could be seen faintly. It's really surprising. I didn't expect you to be the highest level guy. You must be very good to be made into a puppet. She licked her lips excitedly. She didn't show any panic after suffering a great loss. Instead, she became visibly excited and waited for Hey-Yu with burning eyes. Don't ignore me. Rosaria's chest rose and fell with anger. She brought up sword shadows all over the sky and smashed toward Scarlet. Hey-Yu didn't say much, but silently manipulated the sword group to surround and kill Scarlet. The combination of the two's fast and slow attacks made the whole space dazzling with sword lights. If it were a normal 5th level god, it would have been unbearable. Come on, the more fierce your attack, the more excited I am. The tyrannical mental state is worrying. Scarlet manipulated the 7 puppets, dodging and moving, and constantly looking for flaws to attack. The Calamity knows how to accumulate, although I don't know why it accumulates. Faye Freya, who was staying beside Field, nodded slightly. The tyrannical Calamity may have been accumulating supplies and puppets over the years. Once fighting, they may have more means than any other Calamity. The 10 corpses of the Chosen Ones alone are an extremely luxurious lineup, which can be called invincible at the same level. Unfortunately, they encountered the pervert of the night territory and were ruthlessly suppressed. Did they expect that they could not destroy the living beings in the second era, so they arranged a backup plan? These guys are too mysterious, or the destruction of the Calamity is simple and cute. Field patted Faye Freya. I hate the word cute. Faye Freya put one hand on her waist and swung her hand to hit Field to stagger. Field, everyone run. A group of embarrassed figures ran from the north. They were the Night Owls, who went to the warehouse to check. They were in a mess, their clothes were torn, and they were probably not far from the defeat animation. Behind them, a group of violent monsters followed in a black crowd. They were all transformed from forest animals and human corpses. No god-chosen puppets, aren't they just a group of ants? Faye Freya extended her perception and confirmed that the Night Owls were a group of temporarily infected trash. She immediately tilted her head in confusion. I know, they are also targeted by humans. Leaning against the tree next to her, Faye Freya laughed lazily twice, her body curve stretched, her long white legs overlapped, and she could be used as a tiger's head guillotine. Humans? It seems to be Obsidian's people. Opening the small map, farther away from the map, the army of the Obsidian Empire has already bidden the Night Owl team. The tyrannical disaster made too much noise, and even the dumbest Obsidian army could detect it, not to mention that their patrol was missing. Roar. Seeing a skinless monster wolf, with thorns all over its body about to bite the slowest running cloud. Chapter 1078. The clouds but kept shaking, and the wolf chasing the monster drooled. Its lifeless and cold eyes were full of desire for flesh and blood. Oh no, why are there monsters in the camp? How could it be? We just left. What should we do? Everyone in the territory, are you okay? Seeing the Scarlet in the battle, and a large number of 5th level gods chosen, and a large number of tyrannical monsters, Yi Ming and others' hearts suddenly turned cold, and fell into great despair. I go to help. You beware of the hidden gods chosen sneak attack. It is very likely that the gods chosen are hiding among the enemy's pursuers, who can beat the entire Night Owl team. Field took a shield from the space ring, condensed the artifact sword in his right hand, and rushed over at a high speed. The ugly tyrannical wolf saw Field, bit its 4 legs, and used force to pounce on him. The red eyes emitted a strange light in the darkness. Field could even see the disgusting saliva that kept overflowing from the wolf's mouth. Puff! Swinging the sword heavily, Field slashed with all his strength, from the wolf's back to its abdomen. The awkward feeling of the weapon touching the hard bones was transmitted to the hand through the long sword, making people feel uncomfortable all over. What a strong monster. Although he killed the monster with one sword, Field was surprised in his heart. He felt a familiar power, fighting spirit. This group of blood-red and ugly monsters, each exuding fighting spirit, strengthened their physical fitness to an outrageous level. Roar! More monsters rushed over. Field raised his shield and hit, knocking over the enemies who rushed over. Fighting spirit surged. Field swung the sword wildly, and cleanly killed 7 or 8 polluted humans in a row. He threw out 2 newly learned lightning magics, and electrocuted 2 flying monsters. Field. So powerful. Night Owl and others got rid of the pursuit, turned around, and were deeply shocked by Field's chic posture. They had to fight against the monsters with all their strength, but Field killed them like cutting melons and vegetables, and everyone couldn't help but exclaimed. Little Lion's eyes were shining. The guy who was bullied by him in the past turned out to be so good at fighting. Night Owl's fighting power was too weak, far below the normal level. The 5th level fighting spirit was really strong for them. Great Pigeon, you rescue those who didn't escape. Little Lion, lead the people to the refuge cave, and the rest of you, help Field fight together. Yiming's divine power was on the verge of exhaustion, but she still insisted on fighting. A group of ants, leave it to me. Fei Freya couldn't stand it anymore, took the thunder gun, urged the magic skill of destroying the thunder dragon, and crashed into the dense monsters. The terrifying power of destruction burst out, shattering all the dark clouds in the sky, and the lightning flashed, and most of the monsters that were chasing disappeared in an instant. Continuously flashing, Fei Freya kept crashing into the monster group, strangling the monsters with amazing efficiency. The violent thunder instantly killed all the monsters around. It's over. Walking domineeringly, Fei Freya casually crushed the thunder gun, and the heavenly thunder gun turned into a wandering thunder snake and sank into her hand. Standing beside Field, Fei Freya glanced at the night owls with contempt. Originally thought that there was a chosen one hidden in the monster tide, or that they were attacked by the obsidian chosen one, so they fled in panic. Unexpectedly, the strongest existence in the monster tide was only a monster with a life of level 4 or 5. What a strong chosen one! Even if it was a small fish I made, it shouldn't be killed so quickly. Scarlet could not help but look at Fei Freya's performance. What surprised her even more was that this unknown Field actually had so many powerful gods chosen to help him. Take care of yourself. The sword light whistled over, and Scarlet quickly dodged, narrowly avoiding Rosaria's sword. Hey, you stepped over the corpses of the 3 puppets gracefully, with his snow-white calves stepping on the corpses, an indescribable contrast. Yimeng, did you encounter the obsidian army? What is their configuration, and how many troops are there? Putting away his weapon, Field turned around and ran to Yimeng to ask. There is only a small patrol team. Holding the wound on his shoulder, Yimeng scratched his head in a silly and cute way. When I arrived, they were transformed into monsters. After breaking through the monster blockade, we rushed all the way back to the camp. And Field clapped his hands and said anxiously, you must have been followed. The obsidian army will come to Dawn Town soon. On the small map, there are large human marks in the distance, and they are gathering quickly. This lineup has no other possibility except professional troops. Field never has a fluke mentality. Ah? Yimeng was stunned, but we have never seen the obsidian army nearby before. They are not blind and can't see this area. Field held his forehead and suddenly realized, you were not discovered before, probably because the disaster helped you hide. In addition, your barrel grandfather is a spy, and I have eliminated him. Scarlet obviously arranged means for Yimeng and Dawn Town. Field announced 2 pieces of bombshell news in a row, which stunned Yimeng. She blinked her big eyes, and stood there in a daze. Hurry up, gather everyone in the camp, and prepare to evacuate immediately. We can't stay in Dawn Town anymore. I dug Scarlet out, and her means of hiding you must have failed. If you don't want to die, retreat immediately. We can fight against level 5, but level 6 is no joke. The night owls woke up first, and shook Yimeng. Where can we run? Yimeng woke up as if from a dream, tears rolling down her face. There's nowhere to run except Dawn Town. Hiss. Field subconsciously wanted to say night territory, but it would take 3 or 4 days to get to the sea from Dawn Town to night territory, even if it was by land and sea. Don't worry about the people, follow me. Absolutely not. Yimeng refused without even thinking. I will fight with you all to the last drop of blood. Got it, then you gather the people first, otherwise it will be a massacre when the obsidian army arrives. Field used the paper map and the small map to quickly study the way out. Seeing Field thinking, Yimeng bit her lip and looked into the distance subconsciously. Don't let your imagination run wild. Field said the obsidian army will come, so it will definitely come. Fei Freya raised her long hair. If you want to die, you can just ignore us. Let's go gather the people. Yimeng gritted her teeth and ran away. At this time, the battle between Scarlet, Black Feather, and Rosaria heated up to white-hot. The Raven Feather sword strangled like a tornado, and the sword light hit Scarlet's divine shield like raindrops. 5th level divine skill, Endless Slash. Rosaria seized the opportunity and blasted out divine skills together with the corrupted dragon. The cross-shaped sword energy seemed to be able to tear through the void and hit Scarlet's body head-on. With a loud bang, Scarlet's body exploded into a bloody mist. However, the next moment, Scarlet turned into dark red blood and drilled into the body of another puppet. It's not that easy to kill us, tyrannical disaster. Chapter 1079. Scarlet used her tyrannical talent to change her body and avoid being killed by Rosaria. At the same time, Hey, you controlled the sword group and bombarded Scarlet's landing place. There was no need to use divine skills. Scarlet was unable to resist the terrifying sword force, like a raging wave. Scarlet stood firm after dodging 1,000 meters. She glanced at the puppet that was blown up and was horrified. What a terrifying destructive power, worthy of being a new disaster. What surprised me was that as a disaster, it actually acted like a dog for humans. Damn it. With no displeasure on her face, Scarlet praised and glanced around, seeing that most of her puppets were killed. You destroyed all the materials I needed. I don't want to be scolded by the superiors. With a cold look in his eyes, Scarlet chuckled. In that case, use your bodies to compensate me. You are so perverted. Rosaria was full of disgust, waving her great sword, exploding violently in the air. Go talk to my gluttonous great sword. The two sides fought again, and all kinds of magical skills smashed randomly. Dawn Town was reduced to ruins at a speed visible to the naked eye. Blackfeather continued to attack fiercely, cutting Scarlet twice in a row. But she still resurrected in other god-chosen puppets by changing her body. The tyrannical survival ability is amazingly powerful. Field's face was solemn, and his hands unconsciously clenched into fists. The hollow that was killed by the Ross family may not be dead. Cry. A polluted black crystal vulture fell, and howled loudly with a hoarse voice. The living army is gathering? You are well informed. The violent creatures that flew over brought news from the front. The obsidian army was gathering quickly. After narrowly dodging Blackfeather's attack, Scarlet heard the news brought by Black Crystal Vulture, and was disappointed. When did the creatures react so quickly? It's a pity that we can't kill everyone. Let's make a quick decision. Scarlet held the book in one hand, like a reciter chanting a hymn. The moment he raised his right hand, the earth trembled. Countless thorns poured out from the blood pool and wrapped Scarlet. The dead god's chosen puppets exploded and turned into blood. Tyrannical aggregation. Tyrannical aggregation, exclusive talent, disaster level, effect. Aggregate the surrounding trash, God's chosen puppets and corpses to form a huge twisted monster. The more there are, the stronger the monster will be, and it will release mental pollution. The red light enveloped the entire sky, and a large number of corpses gathered in the blood cocoon formed by Scarlet, a scene of doomsday. Oh my god, goddess, please save us. Yimung, Night Owl and others looked at the huge blood cocoon rising from the ground in shock and fell into despair. How to fight such a huge monster without the help of a large army? The opponent is strengthening himself. Seize the opportunity to attack. The black feathers floated in the air, the pseudodomain bloomed, and the surrounding crow feather swords covered the sky and the sun. Under the influence of divine power, it was like an energy black crow, smashing heavily at the blood cocoon. Roar. As if sensing the attack coming. Two thick arms stretched out from the blood cocoon, and the sharp claws grabbed the wings of the energy black crow. The sword energy strangled, and the arms derived from the scarlet were strangled and blood splattered. Break it for me. The energy black crow was directly torn apart by the domineering force of the arms, and 400 or 500 crow feather swords broke, fell, and flew away. The blood cocoon exploded completely, and an ugly monster with only half of its body poked out, which was 20 meters tall. The aura of the pseudo-6th level made the earth tremble. The overall appearance was similar to that of a human, but without the skin and skull, and the brain covered with thorns kept trembling. As the brain trembled, layers of ripples bloomed. This was undoubtedly mental pollution. The fleeing residents all covered their heads and wailed. Once polluted to the critical point, they will be transformed into new monsters. Ha ha ha, this is the power of tyranny. The scarlet fighting spirit burned. Come on. Tyranny is powerful, but it is a frontal combat force. As the successor of the destruction disaster, tyranny can leverage extremely exaggerated combat power, as long as it has enough resources. So disgusting, Corruption Dragon, control him. Rosaria controlled the Corruption Dragon, and slammed it hard into the aggregate monster, and smoke and dust flew. The Corruption Dragon clasped its two dragon claws, and raised them high, and banged it on the monster's back, knocking the aggregate monster staggering. Get out of here, you're disgusting. Scarlet hid in the mouth of the aggregation monster. With a thought, the aggregation monster swung its fists wildly at the corrupted dragon, and each punch was wrapped in terrifying divine power. Every time it hit the flesh, the power was comparable to the full force of a 5th-level god's choice. In an instant, the corrupted dragon's bones flew everywhere, its chest was sunken, and its heavy body was knocked back 7 or 8 steps. 5th-level divine skill, Confusion Beam. Countless red lights, in the form of twisted lines, quickly condensed in front of the squirming brain. Confusion Beam, legendary divine skill. It causes huge damage to the enemy it hits, and makes it fall into mental disorder. It can't distinguish between friend and foe, and it's upside down. Field, get away quickly. Freya smelled the danger, grabbed Field, and flashed out again 1,000 meters. The next moment, the aggregated monster screamed fiercely. The condensed beam dispersed the moment it was shot out, turning into a long beam whip, whipping around without any pattern, and the light and shadow were dazzling. The only remaining buildings in Dawn Town were all destroyed. Hey, you wanted to help Rosaria block. No need. Rosaria crossed her hands and took the bombardment. Her face suddenly turned pale, and her brain was buzzing and trembling. The world seemed upside down. However, the next moment, the mark of the corrupted goddess lit up, and Rosaria quickly regained consciousness. This lady will not be insane. Rosaria put her hands on her waist, because this lady is already a fool. Heiyu was also hit, but with a flawless hard sword, he easily cut off the distracting thoughts. Scarlet was stunned. These two enemies were too fierce. Aren't they afraid? It's our turn now. Grabbing the end of the chain, Rosaria blasted out the Gluttony Greatsword. With a puff, the Gluttony Greatsword pierced into the brain of the aggregate monster. Ah! The aggregate monster wailed, and the mental pollution dissipated immediately. It shook its head to shake off the Gluttony Greatsword. Chains. The divine power urged, and a large number of chains flew out of the Gluttony Greatsword. The sharp ends of the chains pierced into the body of the aggregate monster, like maggots on the tarsal bone. Disgusting guy, you should have been eliminated long ago. Rosaria gracefully jumped onto the monster's body, dragging the Gluttony Greatsword and running wildly. The sharp greatsword cut the monster's flesh and blood along the way, and planted gray corruption. Wailing, Scarlet opened the Book of Roses, and condensed the small fish on the surface of the aggregate monster, trying to stop Rosaria. Die! Hey, you had already recast 500 crow feathers, and bombarded every inch of the monster's skin. Chapter 1080. The two sides fought fiercely, and the aggregate monster controlled by Scarlet was in danger under the fierce attack of Heiyu and the other two. It's too weird. No god system can defeat me with less than 3 people. What's wrong with these two guys? The pupils trembled, and Scarlet felt numbness in her legs and feet, which meant that the aggregate monster had gradually lost control. She was surprised to find that the two gods who challenged her might have the ability to challenge her alone. It was just a matter of time. This sense of gap made her extremely uncomfortable. Scarlet, join the Night Territory. It's not shameful. Field loudly persuaded him to surrender, saying, nonsense, I promise you, I will take you to Urbanise in the future. Are you serious? Scarlet sneered in surprise, and glanced at Field curiously, and then said in a more arrogant tone, get out of here, you took my trick seriously. If you have the guts, take my move, the 5th level magic skill, Bloodstained Heartbreak. The fierce energy burst out, and the monsters gathered their hands to condense a terrifying magic skill, and their claws covered the sky. Damn it, you can't deceive the adults. Heiyu had held back before, and seeing the other party so arrogant, he was immediately furious. Facing the bloodstained magic skill, he was not afraid, and the purple light of the long sword in his hand burst out, which was the precursor to using the catastrophe sword abyss. Hit her, she's really giving me too much face. Little darling, attack over there. He shouted quickly, pointing to the location where the Obsidian army came from. Field sneered, just in time to send the Obsidian people a big surprise. Okay. Heiyu casually threw out the long sword and said to Scarlet gently, you also take my move, don't dodge. The seemingly gentle smile made the cruel Scarlet feel a chill on his spine. The raven feather sword passed through the air, leaving a purple mark. The earth was torn apart, and the dark blue sword abyss opened. Countless sword chi suddenly burst out, cutting through the world, and spanning half of the territory. Scarlet's double claws were worn away and torn by countless sword lights, and wiped out in an instant. Then, the aggregated monster was shrouded in the sword abyss and crushed mercilessly. How could such power be controlled by the chosen below the 6th level? Scarlet gritted his teeth with a look of astonishment. Relying on the dissociation artifact alone, even if you can withstand the damage, you will be caught up and killed by the enemies chosen. Let's give up the artifact. It's a pity for my rose book. Greedy guys, curse you to be swallowed by desire. The aggregated monster was strangled to slag, and Scarlet's body was also annihilated, silently, as if he had given up resistance. A strange book fell, emitting divine light. This defeated the disaster? Impossible. The night owls were stunned. The most shocked was Yiming, who kept rubbing her eyes to make sure she was not dreaming. She was a 6th-rank god chosen, but she didn't dare to say that she could defeat Scarlet. She was not sure of defeating Scarlet's 10 God-chosen puppets, or the aggregated monsters. To be precise, she was not sure of escaping. The God-chosen of the Night Lord actually defeated him head-on, with a domineering attitude, which was incredible. Are the little lions telling the truth? The Night Lord is not only powerful and wealthy, but also very friendly to the people? Yi Ming looked at Field weakly with a complicated expression. Finally eliminated, the vitality of these guys is really tenacious. Rosaria lifted her skirt gracefully, picked up the artifact, and handed it to Field. Is this guy really dead? Hey, you tapped his lips with his fingers, thinking, and whispered. After taking the artifact, Field got the information. Artifact, Book of Roses, 5th level artifact, pollution type, tyranny sharing, description. A beautiful book that makes people reluctant to put it down after taking a look, but it is leading you to hell. Effect, contaminate corpses, make them into dolls, and store them in the book, and each page is a corpse. Can make God's chosen puppet, special attack on killing God's chosen, no transformation is required, and it can be successfully made, sharing, hidden ability, exposed by Dis-Shia tyranny sharing. Bewitching, hidden the user will be gradually bewitched to help it find food and store supplies for tyranny. I have to say that the tyrannical chosen is very strong. This artifact is too powerful, but it's a pity that there are too many traps. Field was shocked. What a pity, it would be great if Scarlet was willing to surrender. Just a minute ago on the other side. Report to the Lord, the army has been assembled. A dark soldier reported to the garrison officer riding a warhorse. We have assembled all the nearby troops. Looking around, there are fanatical obsidian soldiers, and a small number of puppet troops everywhere. Finally found the camp of the Night Owl, hee. I have long wanted to catch a chosen and have fun. Oh my god, we still have to fight so late, I must slaughter those untouchables. The soldiers were eager to fight. After all, the Night Owl's army was too weak. Fighting without pressure, looting and enjoying themselves at what were benefits for the soldiers. Very good, the useless Griffin people dared to attack our patrol team. They don't know how to live or die. The garrison officer nodded with satisfaction. Cowardly. The chosen one who reported the death of the Falcon was unhappy. The Night Owls are just a bunch of useless people with fantasy in their heads. They can do nothing but be merciful. Don't let your guard down, Susanna. Recently, there is news that a cunning Griffin strongman is secretly sabotaging. Many people died in Purple Coral City because of him. If we encounter that strongman, we will suffer a great loss without an army. The garrison officer explained. It's a pity that we still don't know the enemy's military strength. I wish I could invite the 6th level chosen one. Come on, there are still strong people in the Griffin country? Just a bunch of trash. Susanna was disdainful, holding her hands in front of her chest, unable to suppress the smile on her lips. They only know how to fight among themselves, and they are afraid of us obsidian people. Trembling, wishing to give our children as slaves to show their loyalty. When I first came to Songhai province, I was worried about being resisted. They actually want to live in peace with us. It's so funny, we have a big advantage. Why should we live in peace? The garrison officer shook his head again and again. That's because the Night Owl is too weak. I have heard the saying, a flock of sheep led by lions can defeat a flock of lions led by sheep. The Night Owls, a group of soft-hearted fools, who greet swords with love, will only make things worse. But, once the people of the Griffin Kingdom get a strong leader, the consequences will be disastrous. Catch the Night Owls, don't kill them, send them to the Griffin Empire, the Night Territory, let the cowardice spread. The identity will change the direction of thinking about the problem. As a Death Falcon, Susanna has extremely strong combat power, but she only considers fighting and killing. Haha, I won't let go of the credit. Whether it's the Griffin Queen or Field, they're all a bunch of garbage. I crushed them all like ants. Wait, did you hear any sound? Susanna said, frowning. Buzz. The earth tore apart, and the sword abyss enveloped everyone. Chapter 1081. The sword abyss erupted, and the terrifying purple air swept like a volcano, with debris flying everywhere. The assembled obsidian army was about to set off, when it was instantly hit by a devastating blow. The 3 square formations were annihilated into slag, and the surrounding soldiers were all affected. Soldiers covered in blood and missing half of their bodies fled everywhere. Most of the army was instantly destroyed, and the surviving soldiers had no will to fight, and countless of them fled and fainted. Wow! Goddess, what is that? The soldiers wailed and screamed. Susanna and the garrison officer, staring at the scene in front of them with wide eyes, fell into a huge shock. Susanna, who had previously shouted that the Griffin people were trash, kept opening her mouth, but couldn't utter a word. Is this? A punishment from heaven? Garrison Officer Nana said to herself, with a look of disbelief on her face. Divine skill, super long-range divine skill, damn it, you are right. A strongman has sneaked into our territory to cause damage. Quickly gather the remaining soldiers, and report the news to the superiors. This combat power is not something we can deal with. Susanna pretended to be calm, her eyes fixed on the direction of the divine skill, fearing that there would be a second attack. This powerful divine skill was the first time she had seen it. On the other side, Dawn Town. The Obsidian army has retreated. Moving his eyes away from the small map, Field looked back and forth at the artifact book in his hand. This artifact is too good. If it is decomposed, it is simply a waste of natural resources. The ability to turn the Chosen One into a puppet is simply abnormal. It's bad, you will be contaminated. Rosaria was shocked, and hurriedly snatched the book from Field's hand, turned around and stuffed it into the mouth of the corrupt dragon. I'm not contaminated. He waved his hands quickly, and Field grabbed Rosaria's hand, laughing and crying, how can it be so fast? I said not to decompose it because I want to use it for fusion, maybe I can inherit powerful abilities. Hearing this, Rosaria was relieved, biting her lips and chuckled, I thought you were going to be transformed into a tyrannical shape. Take out the food artifact that has never been used, the daughter fruit. Mobilizing the Lord's ability, Field merged the two artifacts. The fruit of shining thunder collided with the strange book seal, and slowly merged into a ball of light. The surrounding divine power was like free, pouring into it like a tornado. After 2 minutes, a fruit that looked like a thorn ball was formed. Artifact, Thorn Core, Level 5, Disaster Level, Food, Description, fruit that is merged with a powerful tyrannical artifact, and gains powerful power after eating. Effect, after the Chosen One eats it, the spiritual potential is greatly improved, and the ability to control puppets is permanently enhanced. After ordinary creatures use it, the probability of the goddess' attention will be slightly increased. Note, after consuming this artifact, you will be promoted to God's Chosen. The first divine skill you get must be disaster level, and it still has the effect of improving spiritual potential. Can it increase the probability of becoming God's Chosen? Give it to the students in the territory. If a God's Chosen comes out, it will be a huge profit. Field's eyes lit up. It's also good to give it to the filthy Bloodwing. Who should I give it to? Field poked the thorns on the fruit. It was soft and wouldn't kill people if eaten. Damn, if I had known that the tyrannical artifact was so powerful, I should have merged Hala's little bear artifact. Suddenly remembering the stupid thing he did before, Field couldn't help but feel very annoyed. Field, our people have gathered. Yimeng ran over with a dusty face, carrying an oversized package on her shoulders, looking like a refugee. All these things were carried by the night owls for the people in the town. The people in Dawn Town filled the carriage to the brim, even bringing wooden stools. They didn't look like they were fleeing, but rather going on a picnic. Field couldn't stand it anymore, and his anger rose. His eyebrows jumped. Regardless of whether he was overstepping his bounds or not, he shouted directly, when you encounter an enemy army, do you night owls fight with pots and pans? Everyone, throw away all the debris in the carriage, leaving only food and necessities. Leave the empty space for the wounded and children. I will only give you 10 minutes to deal with it, otherwise you will stay here and die. The people in the town were already scared when they saw Field and others fighting against the disaster. Now seeing him so domineering, they quickly threw away all the debris. Woo! Yimeng felt very aggrieved. She lowered her head and secretly glanced at Field, saying pitifully, don't be angry. Every bit of supplies is related to whether everyone can survive the winter. First get through the crisis in front of us, and then talk about things that are more distant. Field rubbed his eyebrows lightly. If you ask me, follow me to the night territory. There are plenty of people in my territory. If you ask me to be kind, even if you feed them baby food directly, no one will care about you. Hey! Don't be a hooligan. Angry, Yimeng put her hands on her hips, and glared at Field with a look that had no deterrent effect. When we usually eat sheep, we have to beat the sheep up and eat them until they are swollen. Yimeng was helpless. The resources are too scarce. Field was ashamed. Be a human being. If you ask me, go directly to the night territory. Without the protection of the tyrannical disaster, you are in a very dangerous situation. No, we night owls are the last resistance. Yimeng shook her head heavily. If I leave, the people in the 3 western provinces will have no one to rely on. Even if I sacrifice my life, I have to protect my compatriots. Although Night Owl is weak, it has indeed restrained the slaughter of the Obsidian Empire. Your spirit is commendable. I have planned a transfer route. Field spread out the paper map. From the sea to the southeast, You can reach the Majao territory of Xinhu, which is covered with swamps. It has no economic value, and the terrain is complicated. You are relatively safe hiding here. To get to the Majao territory, you only need to pass a small pass in front, which is very simple. So fast? It is indeed a good place to hide. Meng nodded hurriedly. She didn't expect Field to be so good at planning. But after a little thought, she sighed and said, I must remind you that the pass is heavily guarded and the walls are thick. Without a siege god, it is almost impossible to break through. If the enemy has a god's chosen one, it is even more impossible. Follow me. Field was too lazy to talk nonsense, and led the survivors to set off in a mighty manner. As soon as everyone left, the space was distorted, and a slender figure in a black robe fell down, took out a feather pen, and recorded something. Observation log. I found a guy who defeated the tyrannical disaster. Goddess, I am so lucky. His name is Field. I must observe him carefully, hee. 1 day later. Field arrived at the pass, which was blocked by forests and walls. If you want to enter Songhai province, passing through this pass is the easiest way. Do you want us to assist in the attack? Night Owl and others jumped out of the carriage, very nervous. Just looking at the long pass, Meng clenched her fists in worry. Field, let's take a detour. It's impossible to take it down. Chapter 1082. No, we just fought yesterday. Field's mind was full of questions. We killed a disaster. Isn't that enough to prove our strength? But the army of the Obsidian Empire is very strong. Meng gritted her teeth. She had been beaten to the point of losing her spirit. After all, she had not fought Scarlet directly, so she didn't know the strength of the tyrannical disaster. But she had fought with the chosen one of Obsidian, and experienced the difference in strength firsthand. But you have 2 5th level gods chosen, plus me, you should be able to win. If you hadn't fought the disaster last night, you must have consumed a lot. After thinking about it, Meng sighed. I hope not to sacrifice too many soldiers. Fei Er waved his hand and pointed at himself with his thumb. Your brother Fei can directly break through the pass gate. This plain pass is too weak. Please don't joke with your life. Non-gods chosen are too fragile. The crossbowman on the wall alone can take your life. Meng is usually gentle, but seeing that Field wanted to seek death, she quickly refused sternly. In this way, we, the Night Owls, will open the way for you and try our best to consume the opponent's strength, and then you can attack. No need. Fei Er raised his eyebrows and swelled his hands on his waist. You may not know that I have the title of God of Cannons in the North. I can hit wherever I point. Puff the Night Owls laughed out loud, not believing it at all, and didn't know what a cannon was. Watch out. I want you to kneel down and sing Conquer for me. Raising his hand and patting the white dove on his shoulder, Field whispered, Vivian, have you calibrated the terrain of Songhai province? Help me blast open the gate later. Please calibrate it again. Don't hit me in the face. Vivian's bombardment artifact has an unlimited range, but the disadvantage is that it needs to be calibrated. However, as long as the location is recorded, it can be bombed unlimited times in the future. The pigeon called twice and flew high. At this time, the Obsidian army on the pass also pointed at the people in Field in the distance. Report to the adults, the people coming are the pariahs of the Griffin Kingdom. They may be the Night Owl Rebellion army. There was a magic letter last night, asking us to be careful of the strong men of the Griffin Kingdom. Some of the gods chosen have died in battle. The adjutant beside him reported. The city guard slapped the city wall angrily. Why don't these disgusting pariahs obey us? What's the difference between being ruled by us and being ruled by the Griffin Queen and the Happy Bean Baron? Except for the Dragon Tower people who like Field, the dignitaries in other regions and countries have a negative view of Field. The Queen is preparing for a new war, and slander is also part of the war. She spared no effort to discredit Field. There were even rumors that the Queen wanted to invite the Hero King to attack Field from both sides. Sir, do you want to move to a safe underground? The adjutant asked. Hearing this, the city guard spitted and sneered. There is no siege weapon. What is there to be afraid of? Using his fighting spirit, he shouted in a provocative tone. Castrated wastes, attack if you have the ability. We have a group of women imprisoned here. If you attack now, you can also admire their big bellies. Go, hang the newly cooked food for the rebels to see, ha ha ha. A soldier immediately took a female corpse and hung it on the wall. Field, who was waiting for Vivian to calibrate, saw the corpse hanging on the wall, and his smile gradually disappeared, and his eyes narrowed slightly. The roasted corpse was missing a leg. Ugh! The survivors, who saw it, also saw this scene, and vomited directly. The kind-hearted Night Owls felt as if their chests were pressed down by a heavy object, and they could not breathe, and they gasped angrily. You are looking for death. Field was furious, and he also used his fighting spirit. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. After breaking through the city gate, no one will be left alive. You are bragging. I want to see how you can break through the city gate without siege weapons. The city guard grinned proudly, and looked at Field from a distance. Field walked out of the queue, pointed at the city gate from a distance, and roared, "Fire at me!" The disintegration bomber far away in Frostfire territory slowly turned the muzzle, and pointed to the south. A huge amount of divine power poured into the artifact like a tide, breaking up the cannon and unleashing a shocking blow. Ha ha ha, he's crazy. These lowly people are crazy. Doesn't he think that he can open my solid city gate with a roar? Oh my god, the devil must have kicked him in the head. The city guard, Hornick, laughed so hard that he almost fell down. The night owls gritted their teeth in grief and anger. Yi-Ming gritted her teeth and thought, Field may not have rested well, and is confused, but he has a good heart. I will attack directly, which can be regarded as repaying his kindness. But the next moment, the light in the sky flashed so fast that no one could react. Boom! As if the sun was falling, the entire space suddenly twisted. Then, a deafening explosion echoed in everyone's ears. The originally intact city gate exploded as if it was hit by a mountain. The millstone-sized boulder was swept by the impact and smashed everywhere, accompanied by the screams of many soldiers. The city gate was blown away, and the wall of the pass collapsed on a large scale. What? Hornick only felt a huge force coming, and the whole person seemed to be hit by a train, and every inch of his bones was in pain. Ah! The night owls were stunned. They never thought that Field just pointed at the city gate. There was a terrifying attack, blowing the pass away. Goddess, how can this be done? Field, do you really have a miracle? Yi-Ming looked at Field as if she was looking at a monster, and asked a stupid question in shock. If the 5th level god chosen took action to break the city gate, the night owls could barely accept it. But Field, an ordinary person, was so powerful that their brains crashed collectively. In fact, Vivian was able to break the city gate, largely due to the special nature of the artillery artifact. It's hard to hit the chosen ones with this thing, but the damage to buildings is terrifying. Attack, kill all the obsidian people. Field waved his hand indifferently, urging himself to seize the 3 western provinces as soon as possible. If it's too late, I'm afraid there will be no people left. Blackfeather and Thunder Dragon were the first to break through the pass, and Night Owl and others also launched a charge. This pass is deep in the interior, with empty defenses, and there is not even a chosen one. After many chosen ones rushed in, the soldiers guarding the city could not stop them at all. In just 10 minutes, Night led the chosen ones to slaughter everyone inside and outside the pass, with extremely brutal means. My lord, we caught the chief here. Blackfeather dragged the chief guarding the city, Hornick, with an indignant face. My lord, these guys eat people, we found a lot of skeletons. Hornick was still in a daze. Set up a pot and cook him. Chapter 1083. Dare to kill me. I'm an obsidian. If you touch me, I bury you with 10,000 people in the future. Hornick's legs trembled, and he shouted fiercely. Field went up and slapped him. What if I touch you? Look how spoiled you are. I'm Hornick. He glared, trying to find a trace of panic on Field's face. But there was none. Field sneered. I'm Liang Jicho's grandma. No, I'm your Night Lord daddy. Night Lord? I'm protected by the Obsidian Empire. According to diplomatic laws, I want to see the Griffin Queen. No, I want to see Field. You are fighting without declaration, which violates morality and law. Hornick panicked. He heard that the Night Lords were unreasonable and liked to massacre cities, which was more terrible than them, the Obsidian. Field shook his finger and slapped him again. Morality is for people, and you are obviously not in this category. Laws are for unarmed people, and you can talk to the devils in hell. After all, you will soon be familiar with the devil. Drag him away and cook him. Remember to make sure he is very well cooked. The light words made people feel cold all over. Field waved his hand in disdain and pointed at the refugees in Dawn Town and ordered. When the refugees heard this, they remembered the experience of their compatriots, and their blood gradually awakened. Without saying a word, 7 or 8 people rushed over and dragged Hornick out. No, I'm still useful, I'm still useful. The begging for mercy echoed, but Field was calm. Isn't it too cruel? Yi-Ming shrank her neck. He may know a lot of secrets. Why not torture him first? No, I'm leaving Songhai province soon. It will take time to interrogate him and test whether his words are true or false, which are all risks. Field looked at the night owl seriously, and finally invited, "Follow me back to night territory." "Sorry, Field, we are very grateful that you came to save us, but our compatriots need to be saved more." The night owl showed different expressions, but their eyes were very firm. "Thank you, I hope to fight side by side with you again." The little lion looked like a good buddy, and stepped forward to put his arm around his shoulder. "When the queen attacks night territory, we will definitely attack from the west to help you relieve the pressure. That would be the best, but don't lose the battle." Field was happy. The original intention of establishing our night owl is to let everyone live a good life. We have an unshirkable responsibility for the suffering of the 3 coastal provinces, and we must not leave. Yamung bowed sincerely. "After peace, we will definitely come to visit you in the night territory." "Okay, I respect your choice." Field let out a long breath. This is the night owl he knows. Although the food is shocking, it is a light that cannot be ignored in this dark era. After collecting the supplies, the night owl rescued the survivors in the pass, and led the people of Dawn Town to the Thousand Lakes province. "Bye." After waving goodbye, the night owl slowly disappeared on the horizon. "They are so weak, can they survive in the cracks?" Faye Freya was puzzled. Without the cover of the disaster, they can't hide at all. "I don't know, but the spirit of the night owl will live forever. Let's go back to the night territory. Winter is coming soon. The queen must be planning an attack." Field led everyone to carefully check the pass, and make sure that no one was left alive. He hid the marching route of the night owl, and attacked 2 outposts to confuse the audience. A week later, he returned to the dock of Purple Coral City, and successfully boarded the Abyss. The army of the Obsidian Empire seemed to be busy doing other things, and the fleet also left the port. Obviously, they did not take the threat created by Field seriously. Field was also happy to be idle. The Abyss quickly shuttled in the water, and was halfway. "La la la." A melodious and deep singing voice came. Heiyu drew out his long sword, and his beautiful eyes flashed with alertness. He quickly found Field. "My lord, I heard a song with divine power. Could it be a mermaid? They like to sing." Field came to the deck of the Abyss, and sure enough, outside the protective shield, he saw a beautiful figure swimming quickly. It was indeed the mermaid he had met before, Melindela, and he also told her Anderson's fairy tales. "Hello, beautiful mermaid, would you like to sit on the boat?" Field waved. With a sweet smile, Melindela passed through the protective shield and said in surprise, "Goddess, I wanted to try my luck, but I didn't expect to meet you. This is fate." Field was secretly happy. The feeling of being remembered by a beautiful woman was very exciting. "Field, you are welcome everywhere." Faye Freya showed the book in her hand, and said in surprise, "Just like the species introduced in the book, succubus, Field, you are a succubus." "It's not that exaggerated, I'm just a little friendly." Wiping the cold sweat, Field was speechless. "Thank you for the good story. This is the deep sea food I collected. I give it to you. I hope you like it." Handing the bag woven with seaweed to Field, Melindela blinked twice, and swam away happily. Opening the woven bag, there were sections of pink coral inside, shining brightly like stars. In addition, there was a pile of crystal clear fish eggs. Magical plants from the deep sea. Field was overjoyed. "Let my pharmacist see what these plants do." "And fish eggs? What kind of fish is this?" Heiyu scratched his head. "It shouldn't be Melindela's." Taking a breath, Field looked into the distance unconsciously, thinking, mermaids seem to give birth to children with eggs, just like laying eggs. Could this guy lay a bunch of eggs, and give them to people? It's perverted to think about it. However, the harpy people will use the bird eggs they lay as trade goods, and they taste very delicious, and no one says it's wrong. Can you get fish eggs without entering the fish cave? Bah, what am I thinking? Let pharmacists lay a sea, and you will know. After getting the benefits for free, Field was in a good mood. He turned around and saw the 3 people chosen by his own gods, with different expressions. Rosaria had a stinky face, Heiyu bit her lips, feeling wronged, and Delay Long looked silly. Field went forward and hugged them left and right, and quickly comforted them. Ahem, outsiders are outsiders after all, you are my wings. The Abyss moved forward for a moment. Goo 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 ga. An ugly fish-headed man blocked the Abyss, and kept gesturing upwards. Heiyu, who was in charge of vigilance, informed Field of the abnormal situation. What's the matter again? Field came to the deck curiously and asked, rubbing his hands expectantly, Isn't it that there is another mermaid sister who wants to give me something? Are you Field? Your fishermen are in our hands, hee. Chapter 1084. Salted Fish Monster, what did you say? Field's smile disappeared instantly. Veins on his arms bulged unconsciously. His eyes narrowed slightly, and his mind was thinking rapidly. I'm not a salted fish. I'm a deep-diving fishman of the Naga tribe. The ugly mermaid made a strange cry to protest Field's name. The marine race is many times more numerous than the land race, and the land creatures are collectively called the sea race. The guy with a fish head and a human body in front of him belongs to the Naga tribe. They are brutal and powerful, and often attack ships. The one with a human body and a fish tail is a mermaid, and there is an essential difference between the two. Whatever you are, if you dare to touch them, you will die. Field said in a bad tone, I hate being threatened the most. You will know when you float up. The deep-diving fishman laughed and swam quickly to the surface of the sea. You bastard, you dare to bully my people. You really don't know how to write the word death. Float up quickly. The abyss extended its thick tentacles, and with the snowflake-like waves, it suddenly floated to the surface of the sea, shaking the world. The entire sea area was full of broken ships and a large number of floating corpses. Only one fishing boat was intact, but there were a pile of corpses hanging on it. A large number of deep-diving fishmen, holding steel corals, swords, and harpoons polished by sharp shells, cheered and screamed on the boat. The sea people have a unique technology tree. They also have swords, not just biting people with their mouths. You sea people, do you want to die? Field was furious, summoned the artifact sword, and pointed it directly at the fish people. Finally you are here, Field, aren't you very arrogant? There are big shots who let us attack your fishing boat. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. You offended the strong who should not be offended. Of course, you deserve to die if you offend the sea people. A huge Naga fishman, holding a golden trident in one hand, and a captain-like corpse in the other. Ha ha ha, this is the final fate of you humans. Field's murderous intent surged. What big shot? It's me. A fishman riding on the back of a dolphin emerged from the sea. It proudly put its hands on its waist, its body wet and slippery, and was particularly disgusting under the sunlight. Who are you? In the eyes of humans, Nagas all look the same, and can't be distinguished at all. Lorca. Damn it, your eye is cursed by the deep sea demon can't recognize me. Lorca was furious and slapped the sea surface angrily. Just 2 days ago, you robbed the mermaid beauty I wanted, Melandella, and told her a bunch of stupid stories. When Field came to Songhai province, he met this guy, and he encouraged the sea people to sink the abyss. Field persuaded Melandella with his mouth. But because of this, Lorca made a fool of himself in front of his sweetheart. After returning, Melandella ignored Luo Jia, and naturally, heartbroken, he vented all his anger on Field. You provoked me first. Field was disgusted and raised a friendly gesture. Look in the mirror, you rotten salted fish. I am not the same race as you. Not only do you not recognize yourself, but you also dare to attack my people. You are really looking for death. Haha, in the ocean, we Nagas are invincible. Field, I am not in a hurry to kill you. I want to let you see how your kind are tortured to death first. Luo Jia was very proud and waved his hand. Kill all the remaining fishermen. Gaga. The deep-diving fish people cheered, laughed, and waved their weapons, attacking the remaining fishermen. Kill all these salty fish monsters for me. Field waved his hand. Blackfeather attacked at the speed of light, and the sky was full of flying swords. Every sword light could accurately beat the fishmen into mincemeat. The attack of the big thunder dragon was even more gorgeous. It flashed wildly in the entire sea area, electrocuting the fishmen into charcoal. If there were any fishmen who wanted to kill the fishermen, Fei Freya would kill them instantly. Die! Fei Freya flew high, turned into an energy thunder dragon, and smashed into the ocean. Accompanied by the crackling and flashing arcs, countless electrocuted fishmen floated on the sea. Wow wow wow. The whole sea was filled with the screams of fishmen, and the fishy smell was pervasive, which could directly suffocate people. Go dig the boat. Seeing that the situation was not good, Luo Jia immediately gave an order. A large number of fishmen, cutting through the waves, swam quickly towards the abyss, trying to climb onto the deck or directly dig through the bottom of the ship. I think you are here to die. With a cold smile, Field immediately controlled the abyss and launched an attack. Layers of gun decks were opened, heavy artillery and magic towers were extended, and firepower was madly poured into the surrounding sea. Various shotgun shells and thunder magic fell. The overwhelming firepower instantly stunned the fishmen. They stayed underwater all day and could not see the power of steel, gunpowder, and elemental magic. Even if there were fishmen by chance, they would pass through the fire net and reach the bottom of the abyss. But this thing is a man-eating corrupted warship. The tentacles stretched out, rolled up the fishmen one by one, and the hull of the abyss was torn apart, and the fishmen were treated like crispy horns. Field held a long sword, jumped off the ship with a curse, and stepped on the tentacles to move forward quickly. Die for me, dare to provoke me. With a sword, the fishman's head was split in half. Field grabbed the sneak-attacking fishman with his hand, clamped him tightly, pressed him on his tentacles, and trampled him hard. With a puff, the juice splashed, and the fishman died. Goddess of the sea. The deep-diving fishmen were shocked by the fierce fighting power of the Night Leader, and began to disintegrate and flee. Luo Jia's pupils were dilated and dumbfounded. He didn't expect Field, as a land creature, to be so strong in the ocean. His deep-diving army was no match for him. Field, you wait until I find the chosen one of the Naga tribe to fight. Otherwise, it's too unfair. He actually wanted the chosen one to help, and even asked for it. But the sea tribe would not choose to go to war with humans because of his conflict. Only the deep-diving fishmen, with generally low IQs, were willing to fight. Fair you. Why don't the fishermen killed by you have a fair chance? Field's fighting spirit surged, and he smashed at Luo Jia like a cannonball, penetrating the sea surface and hitting Luo Jia, who was diving and escaping. Just one blow, and he fell into the sea. Dare to attack my people, I want your life to pay for it. After holding his breath, Field grabbed the fish fin and pulled it apart violently, blood splattered. After grabbing Luo Jia, the two were picked up by the abyss and placed on the deck. Spare my life, spare my life. This is a misunderstanding. I am willing to reconcile with you. Luo Jia regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. I thought it was easy to slash the boat, and Field and his gods chosen would fall into the water and die, but I didn't expect that they would be defeated in the blink of an eye. Human, let go of Lord Luo Jia, he is from our Naga tribe. The remaining fishmen screamed. I don't care who you are talking to me now, right? It's too late, go talk to my insurance. Field grabbed Luo Jia and beat him wildly. After he became a fathead fish, he let the abyss swallow him cruelly. Dare to kill my fisherman. Field was still angry, and slapped the wall of the ship. Sir. Well, this is not Dawn territory, and they don't seem to be our fishermen. Hey, you reminded weakly. Chapter 1085. Not one of ours? Field looked around and found that there were towering sea cliffs on the right, with continuous cliffs and no dock. Yes, this is the sea area of High Castle province. No one in High Castle eats sea fish. I got excited for nothing. Awkwardly scratching his head, Field pondered for a long time, looking at the smelly blood on the deck speechless. This fishman shouted seriously, forcing himself to cut it into pieces, but he didn't expect that they attacked the wrong fleet, which was extremely abstract. It turns out that when humans look at Nagas, fishmen look the same, and they can't tell their countries and occupations. Conversely, Nagas also have serious face blindness when looking at humans. Seeing Field's appearance, they attacked the fishing fleet as a matter of course. Field didn't look closely, so they successfully achieved their strategic goals. Just didn't win. It's impossible to fight back. Rosaria laughed so hard that her body shook. It's already been crushed into slag. Ahem, this guy dared to challenge me with killing methods. He will be a disaster sooner or later. Let's get rid of him now. As for what the sea people think, it doesn't matter. Field was too lazy to think about these questions. As the saying goes, too many lice don't feel itchy. With the two sharp swords of the Hero King and the Griffin Queen, he was not afraid of the fish people's hostility. Where are these fishermen from? Bring them alive. Yes, sir. Hey, you manipulated the Yailing sword and caught all the living fishermen on the ship. Thank you, sir. Oh my god, if it weren't for your help, we would be dead. These damn fish people actually attacked us. You must be the messenger of the goddess. I knew that there were friends of ours in the Black Sword country. The bearded man, who was soaking wet and panting, knelt on the ground to thank him. He was dressed exquisitely, and obviously had a certain status in the crew. From your accent, you are from Longta. Field narrowed his eyes slightly. He had dealt with Longta people more and more, and became more familiar with their accent and language. Why are you coming to my territory? Sir, we are here to fish. The bearded sailor shrank his neck and looked at Field timidly, sweating profusely. We are forced to cross the border to fish because of our lives. Besides, no one fishes in Galbao province. Whether someone fishes or not is none of your business. Rosaria was a noble lady after all. She was unhappy to hear this. She crossed her arms over her chest and cursed in an arrogant tone. In my territory, even if you pull out a weed, it is a crime. The adults are right. We are willing to compensate. The sailor quickly took out a wet bag from his pocket, poured out 6 gold coins, and laughed in a flattering tone. This is all our wealth. We can't earn a few gold coins from fishing at sea. Please, for the sake of friendship between the two countries, let us go. Haha, you are playing a monkey and trying to deceive me. Field raised his eyebrows, unsheathed his long sword, and put it on the sailor's neck, since we can't earn a few gold coins. Is it necessary for so many ships to run from Mongta to my place to fish? You'd better tell the truth, otherwise don't blame me for slipping. Looking around, 2 medium-sized ships and more than a dozen small fishing boats can be used as caravans. If they say smuggling, Field will believe it a little. Really not, yes, the golden barracuda here is especially delicious. The seaman was shocked and begged for mercy. I deserve to die. I shouldn't have concealed it from you. The fish here are very valuable. Please notify the officials of Dragon Tower to redeem us. We are willing to pay a high price. Huh? Still not honest. It seems that the sea clan killed you, and it is not unjust. Abyss, tow the ship that did not sink back to night territory for a careful inspection. As for you, haha, choose a way to die. Field glanced at them indifferently, as if looking at a group of dead people. After being a lord for a long time, and often fighting wars, the murderous intent exuded by his every move was extremely terrifying. I was wrong, I tell you. Sir, please let us go. The seaman was shaking like a sieve, knowing that he couldn't hide it, so he explained stumblingly, we are here to capture slaves. The queen of our Dragon Tower is seriously ill, and her life is like a candle in the wind. The blood of mermaids is a good medicine for making life-extending potions. It is difficult to maintain the mermaids purchased from the Storm Country alone, so we can only capture them. The seaman smiled bitterly, told the truth, and collapsed on the spot. Zunda fake do? Heiyu put his finger on his lips, and questioned naively, the blood of a mermaid is enough to eat for a long time. How can it not be enough? It is worthy of being a disaster. The question is really terrible. Wiping the cold sweat, Field thought that Heiyu would say it was cruel. After becoming a disaster, they were indifferent to the lives other than the lords. This? The seaman was stunned by the question. Yes, the queen of Dragon Tower, she is just eating mermaids as bread. How many can she eat? You don't understand this. Rosaria put her hands on her hips and smiled at Field teasingly. Your lord must know. After a moment's thought, Field snorted coldly. Catch 100 mermaids and send them to the royal family. I guess only one will be left. Besides, the Queen of Dragon Tower uses the longevity potion, which will surely attract a lot of dignitaries to follow suit. The sailor was sweating profusely, and he shouted in his heart, stop talking, is this a topic I can listen to? I don't want to be silenced. No, I have to interrupt this topic. Sir, I got the news that after the Storm Sea mermaids were destroyed, the remnants fled in all directions. In another month, many mermaids will want to join the elves. They will definitely pass through the high castle and the morning curtain. The sailor hinted flatteringly, showing his big yellow teeth. May the goddess of wealth bless you. If you give me a chance, I will catch countless mermaids for you. Whether it is for fun or for making. Ahem, for trading with Dragon Tower, it is an excellent choice. This sailor is very smart and knows how to show his value to avoid being silenced. This is good information. Field nodded with satisfaction. Tell me everything you know, and I will allow you to join the Night Territory. Field was not interested in the life-extending potion, but he liked mermaids very much. It would be best if all of these attractive and capable races were captured and placed in the Morning Territory. Thank you, sir. The crew members cowed out in gratitude. Afterwards, the Abyss seized the dilapidated ocean-going fishing boat and dragged it to the Morning Territory. Field checked the fishing boat and found iron cages, large wooden basins, and torture instruments on it, which were not used for fishing at all. The rest of the journey was smooth. Back in the Morning Territory, Field told the mermaids in the Morning Territory not to leave the coast too far recently, let alone contact the Dragon Tower people. A conscription order was issued to recruit experienced fishermen and sailors. Field was ready to pack up the mermaids. My lord, welcome back to your loyal territory. The diplomatic envoy of the Griffin Queen wants to see you. Chapter 1086. The diplomatic envoys of the Griffin Queen? Finally here. I thought they would not cry out in pain after being beaten. Field rubbed his smooth chin. Where are the envoys now? Their envoys are at the border fortress. The soldier who came to report handed the token submitted by the envoys to Field. They arrived yesterday. In addition, the Asian dragons captured by the wild beast baron have been sent to the Night Territory after preliminary taming. Do you want to see them? There are also small flying dragons. Field was happy, rubbing his hands expectantly, and still looked to the south. The monsters will not run away when they come to us. Let's go see the queen's envoy first, and see what she wants to say. Arrived at the border fortress. From a distance, Field was flashed by the dazzling gold. 12 half-griffin knights, and the huge golden carriage behind them, each line was shining with golden brilliance. Edmund, wearing a luxurious robe, stepped down from the carriage majestically, looking towards Field with sharp eyes. "Welcome, sir." Field rode a warhorse, and walked leisurely. Beside him, Yu trotted all the way, holding a long sword, and behaved like a maid obediently. When he saw the familiar figure beside Edmund, Field's eyes flashed with surprise. It was Miss Shirley of the Garcia family. She had been to the Knight territory, and he had killed her chosen one. "Welcome too, Miss Shirley." Shirley stared at Field, who was riding a tall horse and accompanied by the chosen one, and fell into silence. Behind him was a huge fortress, with a large number of soldiers standing guard. "I didn't expect that the boy who once looked up to me now needs me to look up to him. The distance between us has become increasingly distant, even if it's only for a moment." Shirley believed that in the spring of next year, Field would fall from a height that did not belong to him. But at this moment, she had to admit that Field's status was far higher than hers. "Hello, Field." Shirley nodded indifferently. Field felt uncomfortable all over, and when he thought of himself killing the opponent's chosen one on the battlefield, he immediately calmed down his embarrassment. "I'm sorry for Valteri's death. She was an excellent warrior." "I know." Shirley closed her eyes and clenched her silver teeth. After taking a deep breath for 2 minutes, Shirley opened her eyes. Thinking of her duty, she immediately accused, "You must be satisfied with gaining 2 provinces through killing and civil war, right? Executioner. Countless people died because of your greed and desire." Field gently touched his eyebrows. "So, you came to the Knight territory on purpose to provoke me, so that I can be more brutal in the next war?" Shirley was choked. "I just feel disappointed. I didn't expect that the knight who once guarded the border would betray the country." "You must." Field waved his hand and said bluntly, "What do you want to say? If you want to play the good and bad cop routine, I advise you to disappear from my sight. I want to tell you, if you still have a conscience, stop the war." Shirley's tone is sonorous and powerful. "Open the map and look at the diplomatic situation we are facing. Don't fight internally. Don't use the power of disaster to massacre people." "Where is the massacre?" Field looked around. "When you pass by the high castle, if you have eyes, you should be able to see that there is no corruption." Shirley was silenced. She had the mentality of saving the world and bringing hope to the persecuted people. But, when passing by the high castle, the people she met were all living normal lives. The only thing that was considered unorthodox was that Field reduced most of the taxes and allowed the people to collect firewood, pick mushrooms, and wild vegetables. Goddess, Field worked hard to build the land just to reduce taxes? He was crazy. Shirley was a very open-minded and benevolent lord to the common people, but she was an aristocratic mindset after all. Then why did you betray the Griffin Queen? Being loyal is the duty of lords and knights. Field took out the photo stone and smiled mysteriously. "Why do you want me to show you?" No need." Shirley immediately changed the subject and took out the map. "Please open the map and see what kind of severe diplomatic situation all the Griffin people are facing because of your betrayal. If you still have a conscience, don't waste your strength. You should fight for the Queen and drive away foreign invaders together." "It's none of my business." Field sneered, and didn't give Shirley face anymore. He spread his hands. "Your queen is incompetent. With her IQ, I'm afraid that if she gives me a baby, it will affect the next generation." "Enough, don't insult Her Majesty the Queen." Shirley almost fainted. "Bulger, I didn't expect you to look like a gentleman, but speak like a sewer rat." "When did I say I was a gentleman?" Field shrugged. "You?" Shirley was sweating profusely. My impassioned speech had no effect on the shameless Happy Bean Baron. How could this person be so evil? As the rebellious Grand Duke of Jewels, he would blush and get angry when he was accused of being disloyal and betraying the Queen. Field in front of him, on the other hand, looked very proud. "Enough, Shirley." The diplomat, Edmund, who had been silent all this time, stopped when he saw Shirley being humiliated. "Field, please take back your insult to Her Majesty the Queen. This is the basis of our consultation and negotiation." Edmund was neither humble nor arrogant. "Then let's not talk about it." Field was not moved by soft or hard words, and laughed. "I'm too lazy to talk. You love your queen so much, I advise you to send all your children and grandchildren to the army. Because I promise that the intensity of the next war will definitely make you feel extremely happy. If you don't pledge allegiance, I'm afraid you won't have a chance." "Arrogant, too arrogant. Edmund's heart was filled with storms. He originally wanted to test Field's confidence. Unexpectedly, this guy was even more arrogant than the Grand Duke of Jewels. Could it be that the rumor that Field has 3 to 5 6th level god chosens is true, but it may also be a bluff? Hee. The guards of the Night Territory puffed up their chests and looked proud when they heard this. Field, I am actually a rich person too. Seeing that the sharp words were ineffective, Edmund immediately used a warm offensive. His tone quickly softened, and he sighed, to be honest, I really don't want a war. Please believe in my character, I have spoken well of you in front of the Queen countless times. That tone is about right, continue. Field took advantage of the situation. Have you heard about the Hero King? Edmund frowned. She is a puppet of the Obsidian people. Compared with internal strife, foreign invasion is more hateful. That's right. Field nodded. So, the broad-minded Griffin Queen hopes to make peace with the Night Territory and join forces to eliminate the threat of the Obsidian Empire. Chapter 1087. Join hands to deal with the Obsidian Empire? In the face of power, will your queen discuss bloodline and race? Field pretended to be in deep thought, paced back and forth for 2 steps, and questioned, No, you are not trustworthy at all. Who knows if she has found the Hero King, and said she wants to attack my Night Territory? How could it be, Sir Field? Please don't let your imagination run wild. Cold sweat ran down his forehead, and Edmund glanced at Field guiltily. Field was right. The Queen's messenger first found the Hero King to discuss cooperation, trying to destroy Field first. It's a pity that the Hero King refused. He has an experienced planning team, and is not easy to fool. Edmund hoped that the young Field would be fooled, become the vanguard of the Queen's attack on the Hero King, and then be stabbed in the back by the Queen. You need some time to breathe now, right? Edmund was not giving up and began to persuade him. You and I are from the same hometown, and I will not frame you. Field, this is your chance to make a contribution. Make a contribution? Field looked at Edmund strangely. Tell me. I know that you were coerced by the Kurt family, and did stupid things. The Queen is kind, and willing to give you a chance. As long as you work together with us to defeat the Hero King, the Queen is willing to let you return to the Griffin Empire. The 3 northern provinces you occupy will still belong to you, and you will be canonized as the Grand Duke of the North and the new elector. Really? Field looked like he was tempted. Of course, as long as you send troops to attack the Hero King, the Queen's edict will be delivered immediately. All previous sins will be wiped out, and you can also be canonized as a duke. Oh my god, if I had this luck, it would be great. You will become the only Grand Duke of the Griffin Empire. You will be a hero of all the Griffin people, and will be admired by the world. Edmund stretched out his hands and exaggeratedly gestured a pancake in the air, vividly describing it. You have convinced me a little. Rubbing his chin, Field pondered for a long time, and sighed solemnly. After all, they are young people, talking about glory. Heroes, they are willing to give everything, Edmund sneered in his heart. Come to the fortress to discuss in detail. Entering the majestic border fortress, Field invited everyone to the hall. Field sat on the main seat in the hall, and on both sides were infantry guards wearing plate armor and holding sharp weapons, full of momentum. This lord's chair was moved by Field from the Earl of Fire's house. The exaggerated chair was inlaid with various gems. Seeing Field's domineering appearance, Shirley felt inexplicably uncomfortable, and she inexplicably thought of her husband. Although she was more capable than Field in all aspects, she lacked the decisiveness and dominance of a man, as well as real power. Before, she saw her husband being scolded by the royal family like a little chicken, and she thought it was nothing. But Field dared to shout at the Griffin Queen. The contrast between the two made Shirley very irritated. The higher you stand, the harder you fall. Shirley could only comfort herself. Field is now in the limelight, and he will pay the price. You go down, I have something to talk to the envoys. Field waved his hand, signaling the guards to go down, leaving only Hey you. Haha, it seems there is a chance. Edmund was overjoyed when he saw this. Your Excellency is wise. We all have the blood of the Griffin people, and it is right to eliminate the foreign enemies first. I think so too. Field nodded seriously. He really wanted to destroy the Obsidian Man first. But Field knew the Queen's character very well. She would definitely stab him in the back. I am willing to accept your proposal and fight against the Obsidian Man first. Field rubbed his hands, however. If I want to obtain the status of Duke of the North and Elector, I need Her Majesty to recognize the Black Sword country and submit an application for alliance. Field said seriously. I will explain it to Her Majesty. Edmund was overjoyed and thought to himself, he is really a stupid young man. Besides that, I need material assistance as a token of your sincerity. Field smiled. Winter is coming soon. You know the conditions in the north. We are too short of food. Please provide us with food for 50,000 people for 3 months, as well as clothing and bedding of the corresponding scale. Is this request not excessive? I don't need military supplies or other things to improve military strength. I even gave up the shiny gold coins. Edmund nodded in approval. It is indeed not excessive. By the way, Sir Field, should we release our chosen ones? As a token of sincerity from the Night Territory. No, use artifacts in exchange. The young lady of the Nibelungen family, some officials and low-level chosen ones. The Nibelungen family, as a bridgehead against the Night Territory, also has a 6th level chosen one. The Queen will not let their family's chosen ones be killed by Field. Field was sure of this and emphasized, I only want food artifacts. Both sides had their own ulterior motives. The diplomatic agreement was full of loopholes, but it was reached surprisingly quickly. The agreement requires that Field launch an attack on the Hero King after the spring plowing next year. The Griffin Empire Legion will also assist from the east. At that time, Field will be awarded the title of Grand Duke. Field released some imperial officials and 2 captured low-level god chosen in exchange for material assistance and a 4th-level fruit artifact, Star Flame Fruit. This artifact was transmitted by the magician of the delegation. Artifact, Star Flame Fruit, 4th level, food, source, Goddess of War. Branch of Goddess of Bow. Effect, after consumption, the lethality of divine arrows is slightly and permanently increased. Both sides are very satisfied and feel that they have made a great profit. After leaving the border fortress, the delegation drove on the road to Morning Wind. Miss Shirley, you look depressed? Edmund sat in the carriage and opened the curtains. Don't worry, Her Majesty will never let go of any evil forces. For a thug like Field, only the gallows awaits him. Well, I hope the day of peace will come soon. The Griffin Empire has been devoured by the greedy vultures, and too much flesh and blood. Shirley sighed. Although she was talking about the country, she was in a complicated mood at the moment. She had always been contemptuous and disdainful of Field's power before. But seeing with her own eyes that he was in power in 3 provinces, and was high above, she felt the pain. It would be great if her husband could inherit the Griffin Empire. Shirley dared to swear that her husband, with her assistance, would be 1,000 times better than Field in governing the territory. At least the ridiculous measure of random tax cuts would never happen. Ha ha, Miss Shirley, you must be thinking about food aid, right? Seeing that Shirley still ignored him, Edmund said something shocking. Just now, I have made a suggestion to Her Majesty the Queen. Mix the aid food with necromancy potion. Chapter 1088. Death potion? Shirley shuddered and immediately woke up from her wild thoughts. Yes, based on my test, I roughly guessed Field's background. Edmund straightened his back and smiled shrewdly. He is militarily strong, not false. Without a solid military foundation, he would never have such confidence. His internal affairs ability is a mess. The already poor North actually reduced taxes. Shirley shook her head and sighed. He has the virtue of kindness, but he is too naive. If he had strong internal affairs ability, he would not give in and be willing to join forces with our Griffin Empire. Edmund was not surprised. For example, the Hero King decisively rejected our request and promised her gold coins, but he was unwilling to form an alliance with us. Field is a good general, but he is not a qualified lord, and he has no chance to grow up. The North is poor and Field is weak. These 2 things are related to each other. Because of poverty and weakness, Field was weak in diplomacy, and looked for opportunities to seek refuge with the Queen. He knew that with that poor place, there was no way to resist. Also because Field was weak, he reduced taxes during the war. This womanly kindness would only make the economy of the North worse. What we have to do is to add fuel to the flames and completely destroy Field's ability to resist. Whether he gives his army or food to his people, countless dead will appear. The kind persona he painstakingly created will completely collapse in suspicion and curses. Too cruel. Shirley bit her lip. Alas, this is a necessary sacrifice to save more people. On the other side. Sir, what should we do next in Night Territory? Hey, you waved her pink fist and said excitedly, I know, it should be a fake cooperation. When the Imperial Legion and the Hero King fight, we will backstab the Griffin Queen. No need. Field shook his head repeatedly. I am demonstrating and showing weakness, and at the same time showing the value of Night Territory. It's just to let the other party relax their vigilance to avoid the situation where the other party fights the Night Territory to death or attacks in advance. It's difficult for us to grasp the Queen's true strategic intentions. We in Night Territory need to have our own rhythm, and must not be led by the other party. So, what should we do? Heiyu was dizzy. Sir, I'm confused. Pretend that this never happened. With a happy smile, Field showed his big white teeth. Stand by the original plan. After the ice and snow melt, no matter what bullshit diplomacy, attack directly and hit the queen hard. Great, we can finally fight an offensive war. Heiyu was eager to try. I almost forgot, Shiogwai, the tyrannical creatures for you are here. Rushing to his feet, Field pulled Heiyu and set off. Your talent cannot be wasted, follow me. Back to night territory. Roar 7 or 8 black dragons circled and roared in the sky. A group of Blood Eagle Knights were competing in the back, constantly intercepting with blade nets. The two sides fought back and forth, throwing out breath and energy bombs from time to time, and the gorgeous battle made the onlookers exclaim frequently. The newly established mage army of night territory was on standby below, holding up a protective shield to prevent the people from being affected. Well done, you have started training. Field nodded affirmatively, looking at the trainers around him with an appreciative look. Sir, we deserve to die. The trainer shuddered and knelt down. This is not training. The dragons broke free from their restraints and ran away. Knights, we are catching them. Please punish them. That's fine. Field was speechless. Little darling, catch them. Yeah. Nodding obediently, hey, he was like a cute girl with excellent family education. Turning his head to look at the sky, the moment the raven feather sword condensed, the trainers around him immediately felt the pure killing intent, and the fear in their bones made them piss directly. How can people be so terrifying? The sword light flowed, and the raven feather sword in Heiyu's hand instantly turned into 500 swords, flying all over the sky. The dragons sensed the danger, and were about to roar in protest. The long sword fell, and suppressed the dragons one by one. Heiyu did not use the sword tip, but the hilt, and pressed the huge dragons down with a domineering attitude. Bang, bang, bang. The sub-dragons fell to the ground at the same time, creating several large pits. They roared in surprise, and tried to break free, but found themselves being firmly pinned down and unable to move at all. The people and soldiers watching the excitement around them were even more awed. Their lord, and the chosen ones were simply terrifyingly strong. Report to the lord, this group of sub-dragons are called black-armored sub-dragons. They were all sent by the wild beast baron. There are 17 of them, 6 of which are still cubs. They are born with thick scales, skin and flesh, fierce, and good at close combat. In addition, there is a variant of the ice-armored sub-dragon, which is better at breathing. It seems to be a twin variant. It is too professional, I don't understand. The wild beast baron also brought a message to you. He said that catching these monsters almost cost him his life. The trainers handed the account book to Field respectfully. Sir, do you want to introduce the differences between them in detail? You talk, I'm listening. In fact, adventurers and other professions that need to fight alone will pay special attention to the differences between mounts. After all, they can only ride one. For the current night territory, no matter what kind of dragon it is, there is no need to be picky about how many weapons there are. Still choosing to listen carefully, Field nodded with satisfaction after understanding. The dragons this time are all wild and fierce creatures, not the cute little ones that the wild beast baron has been raising. The previous dragons looked half dead and lazy when they were sent to the night territory. At that time, the wild beast baron had a territory and a family background, and what he sold were all raised stocks. It's not like now, daring to fight with his own knights in the air, extremely fierce. Looking at Heiyu, Field suggested, take one each. It's just right. This time, the dirty blood wings are going to be serious. Heiyu's dirty skill can create new violent divine choices. The dirty blood wings selected this time will become 2 new divine choices if nothing unexpected happens. Okay. Let the soldiers and breeders retreat. After carefully selecting, Heiyu activated the dirty ability. Wrapped the 2 sub-dragons in the terrifying filth, accompanied by screams and bone-cracking sounds. One red and one white, the 2 dirty blood wings quickly took shape, and the terrifying momentum they exuded was frightening. I don't know if it's a psychological effect, these 2 sub-dragons are indeed more powerful than before. Ah! The surrounding animal pens and the sub-dragons present were so scared that they crawled on the ground and wailed for mercy just by sensing the breath. I don't know if the prepared food artifacts are enough. Field was uncertain. Lord. A pleasant voice came. Laya ran over with a box in her arms. I have already made the injection-type medicine you asked me to develop. Chapter 1089. So fast? Felton was surprised. The needle-shaped medicine he expected was just an idea. He didn't expect that his own pharmacist would make it in just a few days. Needle-shaped medicine? What is that? Hayu came up and looked curiously at the exquisite box in Leia's hand. Clang clang. Leia opened the box, and a 25-centimeter long steel syringe appeared in front of Field. Since the glass industry has just started, it is impossible to make small syringes. The syringe of the needle-shaped medicine is thicker, and the surface of the glass is wrapped in silver to protect the syringe itself. It is as thick as a forearm. At a glance, it doesn't look like a syringe, but rather like a gorgeously shaped cannonball. Including the needle, the whole piece of equipment is 35 centimeters long, and it is not a problem to penetrate a person. Sir, I used the mouthparts of giant mosquitoes as you instructed for the needle tip. Their mouthparts are extremely sharp, and even if they pierce the skin, there is not much pain. Field nodded and asked curiously, what about the piston that pushes the potion? Have you found rubber? Sir, we have asked many merchants and have never seen anything like it. But Miss Vivian suggested that I use slime. In the box brought by Leia, there was a ball of green mucus in a glass jar. Slime? If I remember correctly, this low-level monster will replicate itself. Field picked up the glass bottle and touched it twice with his fingers. Very small pieces of slime will lose the ability to split. In addition, slimes need to eat to split, and they cannot reproduce indefinitely. That makes sense, energy conservation. Field understood. Leia disassembled the needle and showed its structure, which was very similar to modern medical needles. The biggest difference was that there was a magic core groove behind the needle-shaped medicine. Let's demonstrate it. Field encouraged with a smile. Okay, but I forgot to bring the rabbit. Leia scratched his head in confusion, looked around, and saw the injured dragons. His eyes lit up. My lord, these monsters are injured. Can I use them for demonstration? Of course. With Field's permission, Leia activated his magic skills and condensed a divine healing potion. After mixing a large amount of clean water, he filled it with a syringe. Be good, I will help you heal. Leia smiled gently, like the warm spring sun, and walked gently towards the dragons. But in the eyes of the fallen dragons, the human in front of them, holding a huge weapon, was too scary. Especially the sharp needle, it looked extremely scary. Don't move. Gently stroking the monster's head, Leia found the blood vessel, inserted the needle into it, and pushed it slowly. Leia did not inject all the medicine, but only injected 1/5 of the injection. The Asian dragon screamed like a pig being slaughtered, and seeing it drooling and rolling its eyes, Field felt a chill on his back. Sure enough, even wild monsters are afraid of needles. The monsters are so well behaved, more gentle than rabbits. After successfully inserting the needle, Leia looked at Field in disbelief and smiled. Or am I very popular with them? When Leia was a child, she had always been in a captive environment and didn't know the cruelty of monsters. How is it possible? It only wants to eat people. Field laughed and pointed at the black feather beside her. The terrifying power she bloomed suppressed the Asian dragon. Otherwise, with the Asian dragon's character, he would have killed it violently. My lord, this beast is indeed being treated. Hayu pointed at the dragon in amazement. It shone with golden light, and the injured parts healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just 10 seconds, the bruises on this third-level beast disappeared. Roar? The healed dragon tilted its head, showing a wise look, and looked at its changes in disbelief. Great. Drinking potions is not the only way. Field applauded. Yes, I just injected a small amount of medicine. Leia was full of energy, and in Field's confused eyes, she injected the remaining medicine in the syringe into other dragons. This operation made Field sweat profusely. Ahem, Sister Leia. In the future, don't mix needle-type medicines with multiple organisms, which is easy to cause pollution. Pollution? The pharmacist didn't understand and thought carefully. The rational beauty of a highly educated woman and her own charm were fully displayed on Leia. The beautiful figure wrapped in a light-colored long skirt reminded Field of the female doctor in his previous life. That was the cold doctor who put her hands in her pockets and looked at people without any emotion. Yes, there will be blood residue in the used syringe, which will cause the spread of bacteria. Field casually gave an example, and without waiting for Leia to show an apologetic expression, he immediately comforted her. Warcraft has thick skin and flesh, so there is generally no problem. In the future, you need to change the syringe when using it for humans. Yeah, it's my problem. Leia nodded obediently. Maybe I can ask Miss Vivian to write a self-purification magic. There are some more suggestions. I will give them to you after I write them down. Overall, you did a very good job. Field gave a thumbs up. Thank you for your compliment, sir. With curved eyebrows, Leia was very happy in her heart, but she just smiled gently and added, by the way, This Needle-type potion is only the first generation. I plan to add a magic circle behind it. Leah gestured for a while. For example, self-purification ability, self-injection ability. Good idea. Field also opened his mind. In this way, the Needle-type potion can be directly loaded into the fighting armor. Once a soldier is injured, the potion will automatically heal him. But this size needs to be reduced. Heal? Leia suddenly realized, put her finger on her lips, and smiled with a slightly sinister smile. Actually, I originally thought of providing soldiers with violent potions. After all, among the potions of Night Territory, violent potions have the potential for mass production. Violent potion. Field's mouth twitched. Is there something wrong with the feng shui of Night Territory? Why are the chosen ones of their own gods more war-crazy than each other? Yes, it is made from the raw material of happy beans, yang grass. After all, the principle of happy beans is also exciting. Well, the violent potion is still under research, and I will show it to you when the time comes. Leia frowned slightly. Humans have great physical potential, but they lack the fanatical fighting spirit when facing demons. I hope to make up for this with my knowledge and technology. Yang grass is very useful. Heiyu nodded in approval. Hee, it's almost the national flower, isn't it useful? Field was sweating profusely, praying secretly. Just don't develop a perverted potion, then our own army will explode people's defeat animations everywhere. It's scary to think about it. Let the Mechanical Manufacturing Institute make a batch of Needle-type potions, and the students who are about to be recruited can test the effect of the Awakening Potion. Chapter 1090. Field developed the Needle-type potion to make up for the shortcomings of the Night Territory, which is small and inhabited. If you want to rely on the poor northern province to fight against the entire empire, how can you do it without some tricks? Roughly speaking, the effect of the Needle-type potion is 10 times stronger than drinking the potion directly. Leia nodded in approval, with a look of admiration in her eyes. Sir, your idea is really genius. No one has ever thought of mixing the potion directly into the blood. Not a genius, I'm just a carrier of knowledge. Field pushed his hands in vain. True creativity requires everyone to participate. It's just, the Needle-type potion has not been tested enough. I have only tried it on animals and monsters. I'm afraid of side effects when using it on humans. Speaking of human life, Leia couldn't help but worry, and spoke softly. First try it with death row prisoners and enemy troops, then find volunteers. Field was also in a dilemma. After hesitating for a long time, he ordered, after recruiting students, ask them for their willingness to use it. In addition, you should prepare some life-saving medicine to reduce losses. If it weren't for the pressure of the situation, Field would not be willing to promote changes quickly. After all, the reform of medicine will cost lives. If you turn into a zombie directly after the injection, it will be embarrassing. After talking about the Needle-type medicine, Leia was busy doing research. I always feel that the Griffin Empire will make a big move. Rubbing his chin, Field thought of the Queen's previous plans. The Griffin Queen is good at conspiracy. She said she would expel the Obsidian Empire first. Then, she will probably start with us first. I hope Xiaoguai's tyrannical creatures can share more pressure for the Night Lord. This tearing sword is not very useful in my hands. Field took out the star flame fruit he had just obtained, decomposed his tyrannical long sword, and the remaining low-level artifacts, and used them all to strengthen the star flame fruit. Buzz. When many artifacts merged into one, the violent divine power suddenly surged. It spread wildly around in ripples. The star flame fruit, which was originally burning like a flame, now looked like a golden sun, emitting extremely domineering power. Field obtained the information of the new artifact. Artifact. Sky Split Fruit, Level 5, Food, Description, a powerful fruit that integrates the disaster artifact. After eating it, you will gain extreme power. Effect. After non-chosen units eat it, the probability of being noticed by the goddess will be increased. After the chosen one eats it, the next divine skill obtained will be greatly enhanced, and it must be related to the space attribute. Does the Tear Sword have spatial attributes? Field slapped his head. This thing is also suitable for Silver Eyes. Forget it. Buy it early and enjoy it early. Buy it later, and enjoy the discount. I will give her good things later. He took out the life gift he had obtained before. This was obtained when he defeated the devil. As for the rose fruit obtained by defeating the tyrannical disaster, Field did not want to feed it. Unless it was not enough to evolve the filthy blood wings, he had to feed it. Eat one, dragon. Field turned his head and looked at Heiyu, saying seriously, there is really no drop left. I even melted my own weapon. This is too expensive. Heiyu's nose was sour, and she almost cried. She was the biggest gold-eating beast in the Night Territory. She secretly vowed to give the Lord a baby to repay him. But Heiyu thought again, if I become the Lord's wife, it seems that I am taking advantage of it. Heiyu blushed and covered his face in shame. Wow, Heiyu, what are you thinking about? This kid is so excited that he is stupid. Seeing this, Field shook his head and cast a sympathetic look. He didn't know what Heiyu was thinking. He was so cute. These two dirty blood wings can't be the two seen in the secret realm. Staring at the dirty blood wings, Field felt uneasy. Inexplicably thinking of the blue and white ravens that chased him and chopped him for 2 blocks in the prophecy secret realm, Field wiped the cold sweat. At the beginning, he was chased and killed by the blue raven and was almost chopped to death. Every time Field thought of that icy face, he felt unhappy and wanted to catch him and teach him a lesson. As for the white raven, he almost sniped Ashina to death, which was even more sinister. What secret realm? Is it fun? Heiyu asked with a silly face. She did not participate in the secret realm trip due to physical reasons. Field did not tell Heiyu about those bad things. Nothing, I tell you next time. The 2 dragons in front of him, one black and red, the other blue and white, while the secret realm is pure color. The gift of life was stuffed to the black and red dragon, and it swallowed it in one bite, chewing greedily. The empty cracked fruit was stuffed to the blue and white dragon, and it sniffed it first, and then rolled it into its mouth with its tongue. Boom! The violent breath swept over, and the surrounding divine power surged like a tide. The mark of the black feather goddess shone, and she subconsciously attacked, sending out a large amount of divine power and injecting it into the bodies of the 2 filthy blood wings. The surrounding weather fused, and the 2 dragons turned into light cocoons. While constantly absorbing divine power, the light cocoons became more and more condensed. Great, I can save the rose fruit. Seeing their changes, Field was overjoyed, rubbing his hands expectantly, and at the same time opened the panel of the black feather, and obvious changes appeared. Talent, Despair and Filth. Current Godhead Awakening Unit. Filthy Blood Wing 2, unnamed, I can't see anything. Field could only wait patiently, I hope it's stronger. Until the evening, the mark of the black feather goddess dissipated, and the whole person's breath was weak. Done. Floating down, Black Feather breathed a sigh of relief. It turns out that the awakening of the Godhead still requires me to provide violent divine power. Are you okay? Field hugged Black Feather and asked worriedly. It just consumed some divine power. I can recover completely after a rest. But it's all worth it. I feel the divine power connection. Black Feather looked at the 2 huge dragon eggs. Crack. The claws blew the eggshells, and the 2 god-chosen monsters broke out of the shells. The Emperor's breath was exuded, and the hearts of all the creatures in the entire northern border, whether they were sub-dragons, blood eagles, or humans, began to beat. It was as if the end of the world had come. God-chosen monster, or from the disaster faction. Field's pupils trembled. This energy fluctuation is the 5th level God-chosen? Yeah, their levels are the same as mine. If I advance, they will advance too. Heiyu said shockingly, however, their combat power seems to be limited. That's invincible. Field's eyes lit up, and he swelled his hands on his hips. You know, Heiyu can advance to the 6th level at any time, and he will master 3 6th level powers in an instant. Roar. Accompanied by a terrifying roar, 2 filthy blood wings crashed out of the egg. The invincible dragon pupils looked around, and the scales all over the body were like craftsmen, and each scale was engraved with strange patterns. The whole body, whether claws, tail, or wings, revealed a fierce desire to attack. Quickly devour the eggshell, which has the original divine power, and is extremely useful to them. Chapter 1091. These 2 god-chosen beasts were created by you, so you can name them. Field patted Heiyu's head, and gave him an encouraging look. Yeah. After looking at Field, Heiyu did not shirk, but tilted his head to think. Let me think. Let's call them ravens, the raven that symbolizes freedom. I hope that our night territory can be freed from the shackles of the Griffin Empire as soon as possible, and I also hope that everyone can be freed from war and suffering. According to their colors, they are called Blue Raven and Red Raven respectively. My lord, you can just call them Little Red and Little Blue. Heiyu pointed at the 2 violent blood wings and named them as pets. What the hell? This is too coincidental. His eyes went dark, and Field was horrified. The name of Raven was the same as in the prophecy. Sir, is the name Heiyu given too ugly? Seeing that Field's face was not very good, Heiyu asked cautiously like a child who had done something wrong, or, let the adults give the names. No, it's a nice name, and it will be convenient to call them in the future. Field waved his hand. He was not interested in the prophecy, but was just surprised. They can turn into human forms, sir, and they will be your maids in the future. Heyu raised his snow-white toes, and pulled the corner of Field's clothes with a smile. My little darling is still considerate. Field raised his eyebrows, and immediately thought of something wrong. Seeing Heiyu's pure eyes, he quickly cleared his throat, and said seriously, but they are still given to you to assist in the battle. No, their combat power is not very strong, which may disappoint you. Blackfeather said aggrievedly, so, I hope they can take care of your food, clothing, shelter and transportation. After all, you can't bring maids with you during war. I see other nobles still have servants to take care of them during war. You can't be without them, sir? Not so strong? Let me check. Field opened the panel. The god's chosen panel of red and blue raven belongs to Blackfeather, and he can see it himself. God's chosen, blue raven. Description: the polluted soul of Blackfeather merged with the power of disaster and established a connection with the night territory. Level: pseudo-level 6, goddess of plunder, profession, magic swordsman / long-range shooter. Artifact: glazed blue blade sword, can launch magic slashes, and can also output remotely. A top-level artifact transformed from the soul. Magic skill 1, thousandfold surge. Description: energy gathers in the long sword, and it issues a curry stick. Style slash, with a blade as long as 100 meters, and a powerful burst. Magic skill 2, magic gun sniper. Description: sniper the enemy within a range of 30 kilometers, with average power, but it wins in distance and quantity. Reserve: this magic skill reserves 8 rounds of ammunition, and the reserved magic skills can be consumed during combat. Talent: transformation run, I have a dual form. After transforming into the dirty blood wings, the speed is amazing, serious negative status, dirty shackles. Description: Blue Raven's life and death are not controlled by herself, and Blackfeather can kill her at any time. And she is always in a state of being plundered by Blackfeather. All attributes are weakened by 25%, and only 1, 3, 6, and 9 can gain new abilities. Solution: kill Blackfeather, Blue Raven will be free, and at the same time, the soul connection with the Lord, Blackfeather, will be cut off. Special: if Blackfeather dies in battle, Blue Raven will inherit some of Blackfeather's attributes, and regain magical skills and talents, greatly enhancing it. So that's how it is. Because it's Blackfeather's pet, all its attributes have been greatly weakened. Field nodded in understanding, but it's only 1/4 weaker. What's the level? It can't be the same level as Night Owl, right? I need to find an enemy to practice with. Thinking of those poor little night owls, Field couldn't help but feel a little worried, but he also admired their courage. Looked at the other filthy bloodwing again. God's choice, Red Raven. Level: pseudo-level 6, goddess of violence, profession, judge. Artifact: crazy killing heavy sword, kill the enemy, absorb its life, and the top artifact transformed by the soul, magic skill 1, crazy roar assault. Description: launch a war cry, increase your own attack power by 20% and speed by 10%, consume 30% of your life, and assault. After the war cry ends, the recovery power is greatly improved. Magic skill 2, Hellfire. Description: with yourself as the center of the circle, slash the surrounding enemies in a large area. And in the next time, the attack is accompanied by red sword energy, and this magic skill can be used on the breath. Talent: transformation, same reason, serious negative status, filthy shackles, same reason, they are all pretty good. Field nodded with satisfaction, but with Blackfeather shackles, their combat power will not be very strong. Just weakening the negative status by 1/4, which God chosen can bear it. The only consolation is that these two don't have to worry about upgrading, their levels will be promoted with Blackfeather. Now Blackfeather is a pseudo 6, and they are also pseudo 6. It is probably impossible to make them stronger, and I will never sacrifice Blackfeather. As for imagining some fancy operations, it is absolutely impossible, and Field will not take this risk. Let me see how they transform. Field rubbed his hands expectantly. Don't forget to arrange the stockings. My lord, just tell them. I have ordered them to obey your orders. How can this be so embarrassing? Field's eyes widened. How could Heyu, such a beautiful woman, be so nice? Following Field's order, the two dirty blood wings quickly transformed into human form and became two graceful beauties. I don't know if the prophecy was too accurate or if Blue Raven was affected by Field's soul connection. Her changes were exactly what we saw in the secret realm. She had a cold temperament, a blue ribbon fluttering around her waist, and beautiful decorations on her snow-white long legs, like a gift ribbon, which was extremely tempting. Red Raven also had long fluttering hair, and her smooth bunny was extremely eye-catching. She exuded a passionate atmosphere, and looked much easier to get along with than Blue Raven. The two looked almost the same, except for a slightly different hairstyle. Red Raven's hair covered her left eye. Is this what it feels like to be human? Blue Raven stretched out his hand, looked at his wrist and arm, and said indifferently, strange experience. Huh? Red Raven, on the other hand, tore open his clothes, looked at his rabbit, and poked it with curiosity, his pupils trembling. Can humans raise children with such a small rabbit? Ahem, this scale is good enough. If it is larger, I'm afraid you can't control it. Field almost laughed out loud, thinking, it seems that I have to teach these two people human habits. These two people look like queens, but they are stupid. Don't touch yourself. Blackfeather angrily put his hands on his waist. You have only one duty, to take care of the Lord. Ahem, it's okay, let them touch. Field waved his hand generously. I will educate them. Satisfied nod. Lowly is great, but there are many lowly in the Night Territory. Chapter 1092. As for followers, the queen is more pleasing to the eye, especially the twins. Hey you, if there are other colors of filthy creatures in the future, how will you name them? Field rubbed his chin curiously. Let's call them White Raven and Green Raven. It's so convenient. Twisting the ends of his hair casually with his fingertips, Heiyu's eyebrows curved, and he couldn't help laughing. What rainbow team? Field was sweating profusely. I didn't expect you were also a bad namer. Field wanted to give the two mainstream names, but gave up after thinking about it. After all, these two guys, strictly speaking, are just Heiyu's pets and tool dragons. If they were given a cool name like Sebastian, they might not have time to shout it out in the battle. In 6 months, they will be swallowed by Heiyu again. As Heiyu said, just call them Little Red and Little Blue, which is convenient and easy to remember. If there is a chance in the future, they can get rid of the shackles of filth, and it won't be too late to give them a cool name. Of course, the premise is not to hurt Heiyu. It just so happens that I want to establish a maid guard, so you two can join. From today, the maid guard of Night Territory is officially established. Field looked funny, and unconsciously looked at the iceberg beauty Blue Raven. He was in the secret realm, but she made him miserable, so he had to take revenge. Of course, her sisters can't be let go. They dared to bully your brother Faye, so they must be taught a lesson. Okay. The two of them nodded gently without any scheming. Blue Raven tilted her head, and secretly looked at Field, and inexplicably felt the chill of her skirt. By the way, the wild beast Baron really didn't lie. Field rubbed his chin. These two guys are really twins, they look the same. When I meet the wild beast Baron, I have to ask him how the monsters mutate. When I chose the Asian dragons, I thought the two sisters were the strongest, and they had never laid eggs or lost limbs. It was not surprising that I chose them. I write it down for you. Blackfeather took out a feather pen, wrote it down, and said worriedly, after all, the war is getting closer and closer, and we have to strengthen our strength as soon as possible. That's right. Talking about business, Field's expression couldn't help but become serious. Catch an Asian dragon and take it to the Mechanical Manufacturing Institute. The monsters of the Night Territory also need to design fighting armor. We must gradually expand the advantages of the Night Territory. All soldiers and monsters must be armed to the teeth. We are few in number, and we must win by quality. In addition, feed the remaining Asian dragons with Leia's fertility potion and happy beans to increase the population. The advantage of the Night Territory lies in large-scale production. Field waved excitedly. Next, all energy will be devoted to military affairs. At this time, on the other side, Shirley and Edmund, who had just finished their mission to the Night Territory, came to the Golden Peacock City and contacted the Griffin Queen to report the diplomatic situation. Your Majesty, may glory always be with you. Shirley covered her chest and greeted respectfully. Yes. In the magic projection, the Queen nodded slightly. How was the talk with Field? Does this arrogant and unruly bastard regret it? Of course. Edmund laughed. This idiot, for a small profit, is willing to join forces with us to fight against the Obsidian Empire. We can wait for Field and the Hero King to fight each other, and then stab them in the back. Stupid indeed. The Queen covered her mouth and chuckled, then shook her head. But the plan has changed. Your plan can only be used as a cover. The plan has changed. Edmund's mouth twitched, and he was completely dumbfounded, and his smile froze on his face. How could the mission be cancelled when he risked his life? What's the point of talking so much? My ministers, and the Blood Knights, who have just pledged allegiance to me have overturned the original plan. They all agreed that with Field's brutality, he would not care about the lives of his subjects. The possibility that he would attack the Hero King is not high. But we can unite with Dragon Tower or Framaya. Edmund still wanted to struggle. No need to bother. The Griffin Queen frowned slightly and said in an unquestionable tone, "Soon, a legion will arrive in Morningwind, Itavan Province. Edmund, you are in Morningwind, you can review it." "Excuse me, it's winter soon, how can we fight?" Edmund shook his head repeatedly, his tone high. "It's not my imperial army, but the noble army." The Griffin Queen supported her head with her snow-white arms, the most greedy and most rogue army that desires territory and wealth. "You mean?" Shirley realized something. "Robber nobles." The Griffin Queen smiled coldly. It turned out that, after Field took over the High Castle and Rick, many noble families abandoned their industries and fled. But more of them were nobles, who were swept away by the Grand Duke of Gems and driven away by the Hero King. They had armies, weapons, and divine elections, but no territory. They all gathered in the Imperial City, clamoring for territory and subsidies. Let Field bear these troubles, he will enjoy it. I won't feed so many mouths through the winter. In addition, I have also issued amnesty to those notorious death row prisoners, thugs and robbers. They will form an army in Field's territory, burn, kill and plunder everywhere, and show no mercy. I believe Field will spend an unforgettable winter. The corners of the Griffin Queen's mouth rose, and she felt like she had exhaled a breath of bad air, and her crystal toes curled up slightly because of excitement. This is a win-win strategy. The robber barons are a big trouble for the Queen. She doesn't want to divide the land on a large scale, nor is she willing to pay gold coins to support them. Sending them all to Field can also weaken Field's power. But what about the people in the north? Shirley broke out in a cold sweat. I heard that few people rebelled against Field. They are really a bunch of untouchables, who happily accepted Field's brutal rule. Don't they deserve to die? The Griffin Queen asked back. Shirley hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. War requires any means. Your Majesty, I suggest that the food promised by diplomacy should be supplied as usual. Both poisoning and paralyzing Field are good choices. Edmund advised, it's just consuming some flour. I will collect food in Morningwind, and not consume gold coins from the treasury. That's it. The Queen nodded with satisfaction, and looked at Shirley again. Miss Shirley, spend more time with your husband when you have time. He has been addicted to taverns, and entangled with those vulgar Kun women all day long. He knows most of the Kun women in the entire Griffin Imperial City. Yes, your Majesty. After the magic connection was interrupted, Edmund shrugged awkwardly. I'm sorry to hear this news. He is such a romantic and unrestrained person. Shirley gently touched her eyebrows. But he is not a bad person by nature. Chapter 1093. Thinking of her husband's affair, Shirley, who has faith in the holy light, finds it hard to accept it for a while. But after all, she is of royal blood, and her noble origin always makes people feel empty. I just need to persuade her. He is not a treacherous and cunning person. At least, he will not be like Field, who associates with disasters, and will not betray the Empire. He. Edmund did not comment, hummed twice, and glanced at Shirley. Although they are enemies, Edmund knows the problems of the Empire. Fighting against Field is just a matter of position, not hatred. In Edmund's view, Shirley wants to obtain northern land or revitalize the family by suppressing Field's rebellion. But the price is too high. Political monster, willing to sacrifice everything. Edmund was alert, but his face was very gentle. Miss Shirley, I can handle the next action by myself. Goddess, you just got married, and the couple is in the time of lingering and missing each other. Go back quickly, child. Edmund rubbed his stubble, thinking of his children, and chose to take care of Shirley. No, I want to fight Field's army. Shirley shook her head firmly. Last time, I was dragged into it, and lost in a muddle. This time, I want to avenge my previous shame. I am familiar with the combat style of the Knight territory, and staying here will be of great use. Bet on the honor of the Garcia family and defeat Field's lackeys. Edmund shrugged, but you have to take care of yourself. The robber nobles are a bunch of bastards. They will kill anyone. Besides, what does it mean to bet on the honor of the family? Edmund blinked twice. I wrote a letter, and asked my aunt to support me. She is a 5th-level god. The heritage of the Garcia family. What a joke. Edmund was dumbfounded, and said in a low voice, we are just destroying, burning villages, and eliminating outposts. I will not accompany you to attack cities. The 5th-level god chosen is out. Shirley wants to attack big cities? It's crazy. Even if they occupy the provincial capital, without follow-up support and supplies, they will all be trapped in the north when winter comes. With the harsh conditions in the north, going out in winter is no different from swimming in the snow. I just want to fight through the Legion and annihilate the enemy's army. Shirley has a little idea in her mind. Their family is too poor, so it's just right to get a share of the pie through looting. On the morning of the third day, the portal of the Golden Peacock City hummed open, and the purple magic vortex slowly surged. Teams of soldiers and knights walked out of the portal. There are fighting knights in heavy armor. They are wearing gorgeous robes. Every fighting armor piece is made by master craftsmen. There were also mercenaries wearing flying saucer hats and carrying halberds. More were armed bandits holding machetes and hammers. They should have been hanged, but the queen gave them a new life. How many people are there? The onlookers were stunned by the soldiers pouring out of the portal. This group of fierce thugs made the people of Morningwind feel cold. Sir Edmund, Lady Shirley, a noble in his 30s, wearing blue and yellow stripes, rode over on a warhorse. Let me tell you something interesting. I just want some food to feed my loyal and patriotic knights. Her Majesty, she actually promised me the entire north. Give me as many cities as I can occupy. Kane rolled his eyes. That's a good thing. Edmund joked, Sir Kane, next spring, I may have to call you Duke Rick. Haha, come on, Your Majesty, I be the next one to deal with. Kane clapped his hands and laughed. I just want to grab some good wine to take back, you know? The wine in the night is the strongest. Watch your words, sir, Shirley said with a straight face. My Valkyrie, don't be so serious. Kane said happily, my broken blade knights are always the last to evacuate the battlefield, you can rest assured. By the way, let me introduce my wife, Morwenna, the 4th level god's choice, from Chinhu. Kane pointed to the dashing woman riding a warhorse beside him. Just a poor person who lost his home and territory. Morwenna was not interested. I should be on the western battlefield, strangling the obsidian people. Shirley nodded and smiled. Good day, my little Shirley. It's not easy to get rid of endless paperwork. The family is getting busier and busier, and those greedy vassals are always corrupt. A middle-aged woman in armor walked out of the portal, with thick dark circles under her eyes, and deep wrinkles at the corners of her eyes. The biggest reason for the decline of the Garcia family is the decline of the population and too few offspring. Aunt. Shirley stepped forward and gave her aunt a hug. The hug of her relatives made Shirley feel powerful. So, the 5th level chosen one is here, who should we listen to? Kane's smile disappeared. Shirley will be a good strategist. Edmund spread his hands. I only care about diplomacy. You can do whatever you want. I will prepare a banquet for you in Golden Peacock City. I have fought with Field and know his style. Shirley's eyes were firm. I will destroy his army and let him know the consequences of betraying the Empire. But we are here to rob. Kane sneered and spoke bluntly on the street, just like the Obsidian barbarians. We will kill those innocent, tax-paying, humble farmers. This is the Queen's order. The surrounding people took a breath of cold air, and their pupils trembled. Ahem. Edmund on the side almost choked to death, and complained. I know why the Queen is bothered by you and wants to send you to the north. We can change the way we attack. Instead of attacking ordinary people, we can attack Field's small army or the rebel nobles. Shirley was unhappy. If you can win, you would have won with the Earl of Fire, instead of running back crying. Kane laughed like Santa Claus. How dare you? Shirley's aunt, Morag, burst out with divine power. The terrifying 5th level divine power was like a mountain falling. The people around were shocked and frightened by the momentum, and knelt on the ground, shaking like a sieve. The warhorse snorted and kept lifting its hooves, which was extremely frightened. Calm down, Ms. Morag, we have no intention of being your enemy. The robber nobles around him quickly showed weakness, and Kane also quickly turned over and dismounted, kneeling on one knee to apologize. I am not showing off my military power, but telling you losers who holds the truth. Morag patted Shirley on the shoulder to protect her. Huh? You don't have to be like this. I just want to lead you to victory. Shirley looked at her aunt gratefully, and quickly comforted everyone. Let's go and march to Beifeng Fishing Lane. That is the base of Field's men, the Wild Beast rebels, and it is also the only way to Rick. Opening the map, Shirley's heart was surging. Chapter 1094. We have a total of 3,000 soldiers, of which 2,100 are small fry, all mercenaries, bandits, and adventurers, mainly light infantry and archers. Kane reported, Madam Shirley, the remaining 700 are the soldiers we took away, mainly heavy infantry and crossbowmen. The last 200 or so are the elite, fighting knights, mages and chosen ones from all over the Empire, The highest is only the 4th level chosen one. Shaking his head helplessly, Cain said bluntly, I don't recommend a head-on battle. To put it bluntly, we are all losers, just poor people without fiefdoms. No, we can win a beautiful war. Shirley gritted her teeth. I will send another 300 fighting knights. Field is a guy who doesn't repent. Let him see the sharp blade of the Garcia family. Northwind Territory, Thornfish Town, late autumn. This semi-abandoned town, since the wild beast baron took over, a large number of soldiers have turned into fishermen, and Thornfish Town has regained its vitality again. Fences and wooden walls were built, arrow towers were also erected, the city gates were reinforced with stones, and the flag of the wild beast baron was flying. Wow, what a big fish, Uncle Thor is so awesome. There will be dried fish to eat in winter. A little girl, 7 or 8 years old, stepped barefoot in the mud, firmly holding down a river fish that was bigger than her. Little Benny is awesome. Thor smiled and scratched his head, dragged the river fish and the little girl with one hand, and threw them into the soft mud on the shore. The men not far away were also fishing in the river, and the meat drying factory not far away would turn them into fish sausages and dried fish. Uncle Thor, why do you want to move north? Benny stuck her head out with mud all over her face. Because this place is unsuitable in winter, the monsters in the forest will run out. A friend beside her laughed and shouted, What Baron Wild Beast said, we just listened to it. Can we be as smart as the nobles? Lord Wild Beast is no longer a baron. What he said may not be right. If you ask me, he should ask Lord Field to station troops. Thor shook his head. In order to maintain independence, Baron Wild Beast asked Knight to lead the army to build outposts and fortresses outside his city. Not only monsters, but there will be war here after winter. Thor thought of something bad, and worry appeared on his wrinkled face. Let's fight. The worst that can happen is that we lose. If we lose, we can just run away. That's right. We lost all the way from the east to the north, but we're still alive and well, haha. Now we have smoked fish to eat. Today, Lord Field's caravan will come. Buy some beer and bread. I can work here until I die. The other workers around were laughing. Thor was smiling. He was tired of the endless war. He just wanted to live an ordinary life, not kill people, or eat people. Hey Thor, you don't really want to adopt a child, do you? There are a lot of Shakun in the tavern. Don't waste copper coins. Keep your voice down. How much can this child eat without his family? There are so many poor people. How can you save them all? No, it will make my conscience feel better. I killed too many people. Everyone was chatting. Although little Benny didn't hear anything, she instinctively felt the crisis. This was the sensitivity unique to those who were displaced. Uncle, you don't want Benny, do you? I will brush your boots for you. How could it be? Thor scratched his head. When I finish my work, let's go to Northwind City together. Lord Field's caravan seems to be coming. I buy you some candy. The white sugar of Night Territory is supplied to locals and traded. The defective or rough brown sugar is sold to other territories. When the fishermen heard the caravan arrived, they hurriedly ran ashore, and the supervisor did not scold them. After all, the supervisor also did it. Thank God, you are finally here. I haven't used beer to quench my thirst for half a month. Thor's friend cursed with a thick Eastern accent and took out a handful of copper coins. It's really ink. This road is really difficult. The leader of the caravan answered absent-mindedly. His eyes unconsciously glanced to both sides, especially the stone fortress built in the center of the town. Fortunately, it has not been completed. This Thornfish town will probably become a Thornfish fortress in a few days. It's just going to be difficult, so that the queen's lackeys will suffer. Stop talking nonsense. Take out the good stuff quickly. Your father's wallet is so bulging. Are there any women's clothes? More and more laborers gathered around, and the short piece made them cherish their happiness. Your accent sounds. Why does it sound like someone from the central region? Thor asked subconsciously with little Benny on his shoulder. Damn peasant, is that what you asked? The leader of the caravan rolled his eyes. Popular. Isn't this the way nobles curse people? Thor felt strange for some reason. He was sure that this group of caravans were not from the Night Territory, and the merchants in the Night Territory were more gentle and sincere. I can't wait any longer. Why are you so slow? I want to drink beer. Thor's friend reached out and lifted the cloth covering the cargo in the carriage. Inside was a pile of swords, war hammers, and strung crossbows. Huh? The workers were stunned. Ha ha, lowly people, we are following the queen's order to send you to hell. The leader of the caravan laughed morbidly, pulled out a hammer from the barrel, and with a surge of fighting spirit, he hit Thor's friend's head hard. With a bang, blood splattered and broken bones flew everywhere. As if it was a signal, the caravan members tore off their disguises at will, took out various weapons from the carriage, and ruthlessly slaughtered the unarmed villagers and workers around them. Mom! Everyone pushed each other, screamed and ran away. Thor's eyes were red with anger, and he watched his friend's body fall. Damn it! It's the Queen's lackey. How can a stupid sentry do his job? Help! The enemy's army is coming. The sentry at the city gate screamed and jumped off the high platform, riding his horse to flee to the north. Damn it! Thor was about to escape, and a rain of arrows came over him. He groaned and fell to the ground. Uncle! Little Benny fell and struggled to get up to help, but a spear had already fallen. There was chaos everywhere. Screams lingered in the sky for a long time, and the smell of blood was overwhelming. The plan of disguised as a caravan and surprise attack was successful. Shirley's heart was pounding, and she waved her hand. The subsequent legions marched quickly, and excitedly charged towards the Thornfish village. Although the gods chosen can blast open the gate or kill into the city, it consumes too much divine power. If you can use the small fish to attack, don't use your trump card. It's the Griffin Empire army, damn beasts. How did the wild beast baron build the fortress? How did it break through without resistance? Find out the number of enemies. The Knights' light cavalry arrived at the first time. Someone blew the horn, and someone reported to the secret sentry built by the Knights' army. Chapter 1095. Smoke was everywhere in the town of Thorny Fish. Screams were heard one after another, and surviving soldiers and people ran out from time to time. But what greeted them was the ruthless iron hooves of war horses. I have seen those subhuman cavalry, this group of greedy jackals, who are loyal to Field and are determined to make trouble. Field is really vicious. For power and wealth, he dares to cooperate with subhumans in disasters. Shirley was so angry that her chest was heaving. She caught a glimpse of the cavalry spying in the forest, and raised her right hand. Pass the order, all armies led by the chosen ones will attack enemy granaries and villages, and do not get entangled with the main force of the enemy. I will lead the army to attack Beifeng City, but I will not attack with all my strength, and try to lure Field's garrison out of the city to provide assistance. Ant, you get ready, we will try to eat up more reinforcements. Cain, have people change into those peasants' clothes, deceive the trust of the cities in the rear, and wait for me to cooperate with them from inside and outside. Shirley gave orders in an orderly manner. Although she was young, she had followed the famous generals of the empire to fight north and south, and she was very good at manipulating small-scale armies. If they quickly defeated the villages and towns here, they would naturally be able to blend in with the fleeing crowd and enter the cities in the rear, as long as they were fast enough. I'm a knight, and you want me to pretend to be a refugee peasant? This is trampling on the dignity of the goddess of war. Cain frowned so hard that he could kill a fly. This is ridiculous. This is a military order. You go and annihilate the subhuman cavalry first. What surprised Shirley even more was that the subhuman cavalry, who was spying on everyone, dared to approach them. Woo! A desolate horn sounded, and more than 30 light cavalry rushed out of the forest, each holding a bow and a gun. Like a nimble sparrow flying by, the cavalrymen were much more eager to fight than the guards of the Thornfish town, and they threw a shower of arrows. The bowstrings vibrated, and some of the thugs who were heading to slaughter the village were immediately shot and fell down. The subhumans kept shooting arrows, killing and injuring more than 10 people. Fortunately, most of the soldiers gathered around Shirley were fighting knights, with amazing defense, and a small number of arrows could not even break through the defense. A bunch of trash dared to stop the Garcia family's pace. It's simply courting death. Shirley's aunt, Morag, saw this and sneered jokingly, summoned the artifact lance, and was about to launch a charge. Please wait a moment, the other party is testing our strength. It would be bad if the enemy, who is spying in the dark, finds out our details. Sir Cain, let your broken blade knights chase. Shirley waved her hand. As you wish. Facing the subhumans, Cain no longer questioned the order and personally led the knights to charge. 200 fighting knights, lined up in a cone-shaped attack formation, roaring and stepping, the whole land seemed to be shaking. The subhuman cavalry wanted to retreat, but the fighting knights charged with all their might at an astonishing speed. Bang, 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 blood mist splashed, and the subhuman cavalry was shattered. The fighting knights couldn't even stop their horses, and crashed into the forest, knocking down a lot of tall trees. After a round of charging, only 3 or 4 riders were left, and they fled into the forest. Cain wanted to lead the knights to pursue them further, but more soldiers vaguely appeared in the forest to support them. He didn't want the knights to get stuck in the forest, so he chose to give up the pursuit. Turning his horse around, Cain found that Shirley and others had occupied the town of Thorny Fish and entered the city. "Goddess, save us!" The city was full of corpses and chaotic crowds. The thugs were busy looting money, and some soldiers started to grab women after filling their bags with money, and frantically released defeat animations, and shrill cries could be heard everywhere. Some thugs, who had been holding grudges for a long time, even turned the carriage sideways, and strangled people on the wheels to make sunny dulls. "Oh my God!" Cain's eyebrows jumped wildly, and he almost vomited. "What's the difference between this and that bitch of the hero king?" The queen meant that they should be slaughtered, and even pardoned many robbers and death row prisoners. But when he really did it, Cain felt ashamed. "Surely, what's the benefit of killing all these people? Who will cook for us and pay taxes? At least don't kill women and children." Hearing Cain's question, Shirley was sweating profusely, and wanted the chosen one to stop the massacre. "There's no need to pity them. There are not many locals in the northern fish alley. They are all the old subordinates of the Grand Duke of Jim." Morag shook his head on the side. "They just laid down their weapons. This group of thugs used to eat people. After the army of the wild beast baron was desperate, they did eat people. They take up arms. They are soldiers." Morag said with full momentum, "They deserve to be killed. Sir Cain, I will control the army." Shirley groaned for a moment and ordered, "The plan remains unchanged. You pick some fierce and brave soldiers, wear the clothes of the people, and pretend to be driven away by us. Go into the big city behind, and when we come, we will cooperate inside and outside." Shirley narrowed her eyes slightly. "If you are fast, you can even take down a big city." "Yes." Cain sneered twice, waved, and led the Broken Blade Knights away. In the evening, the civilians in the Thornfish town were slaughtered. With a rear base, Shirley divided her troops to harass everywhere. Whether it was Field's direct territory, or the small nobles who took refuge in Field, even the passing travelers, pilgrims, and caravans were attacked by the robber nobles. The fierce robber nobles would even chop up wild dogs on the roadside. Fortunately, after Field occupied Rick, he began to build an alarm and defense system, with smoke rising into the sky and horns everywhere. Countless outposts and bunkers protected many people. The sacrifice of the subhuman scouts was not in vain. The villagers in the rear retreated into the big city and fortress, and there was no surprise attack. Shirley's subsequent attack occupied 7 or 8 villages, but very few villagers were slaughtered. In order to vent their anger, the robber nobles set fire everywhere, burned the abandoned villages and towns to ashes, and poisoned the wells. On the other side, the Night Curtain Academy and the newly built Morning Curtain Academy recruited a large number of students. The winter is long, and the children are bored at home. It is more appropriate to come to school to study. This is not the future. Going to school is a hard job. The food and stove provided by the Light Academy are enough to drive the children crazy. After all, in this era, people really starve to death and freeze to death. Field was willing to recruit students because he didn't want to lose population in winter. So many of the children recruited were still serfs. "Sir, the 2 colleges have recruited 3,800 new students, which is too exaggerated." Vivian held the report in her hand. "Unbelievable, these are children from 3 provinces. Each student needs to be subsidized for food and heating costs per month, which is 50 copper coins. It's all worth it." Field waved his hand, interrupting Vivian's report. "After half a year, they can become craftsmen, mages, or clerks. The Night University, which is under construction, offers even more generous subsidies." Chapter 1096. Students in Night Territory are almost all full-time. Among them, parents can afford the expenses for up to 800 people, and the remaining more than 3,000 people have to rely on Field to pay for it out of his own pocket. The terrifying thing is that not only do they have to be fed, but they also have to be educated in writing, swordsmanship, knowledge, morality, etc. As for providing awakening potions, the cost is astronomical. I dare to swear to the goddess Mark that such a generous and great cause cannot be achieved even by the Golden Griffin the First. Vivian was extremely shocked and looked at Field with admiration. "I still think there are not enough students." Spreading his hands, Field sighed helplessly. "High Castle, Rick's people don't trust me enough. Most of the good girls don't dare to come to the Night Territory. Sir, with so many students, the awakening potion in stock is not enough." Vivian crossed her arms in front of her chest, her beautiful curves highlighted. She bit her lip. "Unfortunately, the origin of the awakening potion is all in the central part of the empire. Even the corresponding magic plants are rare in the north. If you want to find a substitute, you probably have to wait for the pharmacist Leia to advance to a higher level of God's choice. The magic awakening potion is definitely enough." As for the Fighting Spirit Awakening Potion, give it to some people for normal use. Recruit volunteers from the students. Let those who accept the needle-type potion try it. This thing has risks, and it must be explained in advance. Field was very worried about the reliability of the needle-type potion, fearing that someone would be stabbed to death or turned into a zombie. But if you hide it without testing, you will never make progress. Now you haven't even figured out the dosage, so someone must try it. Let the students exercise and learn morals first, and we talk about the medicine in a month. I will recruit the little girl Fanching that you like. Field patted Vivian's head lovingly. Isn't it time to repay this lord? Vivian blushed and pretended to be serious. She took out the report again and wanted to report the output of the magic core vein in Yunmu territory. Knock, knock, knock. The door was knocked hurriedly. Important military information from the front line. Come in, Field said sternly, and immediately raised his hand to signal. The two Raven sisters walked forward with a soft and beautiful step that made people's hearts itch and opened the door of the city hall. Goddess. The knight who came to report was a little confused. His lord was too awesome. Where did he get the twin beauties to open and close the door? Ahem, report to the lord. In High Castle, Rick sent an urgent war report and found a small-scale military invasion. They burned, killed, looted, and slaughtered villages everywhere. They are just a group of demons and thugs. The knight was furious. There are about 1,500 thugs in High Castle, led by a 4th-level god chosen. Miss Ashina discovered them in advance, led the local garrison to annihilate them, and took those captured alive to do hard labor, without any losses. Very good, I feel relieved with her around. Field was not surprised. Ashina was good at looting and mobile warfare, and was also the best scout. Not to mention, High Castle was a military stronghold to defend the Hero King and the Griffin Queen, and there were more troops. Rick has a regular army of 3,000 to 4,000 people. According to the scouts, they are led by Shirley of the Garcia family. They are extremely well trained and their combat power is unknown. They have captured the towns of Tsiyu and Heimu. They are swift and will massacre every time they arrive. Many innocent people have been killed, and countless local caravans have been killed. Even the priests of the Holy Light Church, who tried to stop them, were killed. The Lady of the Mountain Goat guarding the border, protecting the people, did not attack. Vivian covered her mouth with her slender hand and couldn't help but exclaim, "Surely, didn't she just come to the diplomatic service?" The scouts ahead said they saw her. They can't be wrong. The knight scratched his helmet. It's probably for revenge. With a cold snort, Field was unhappy, anger brewing in his chest, and he punched the table in anger. This guy took the initiative to attack my knight territory. I killed her chosen one. What's the problem? Can you stick your neck out and beg for mercy? Even if there is resentment, come and fight with real swords and guns. Turning the butcher knife against innocent people is really courting death. It's just that the queen just came to the diplomatic service 2 days ago. Why did she hit herself in the face again, fighting left and right? Field paced back and forth, thinking about this inexplicable massacre. What was going on? After all, Shirley is of noble status, a member of the royal family, and the heir of the Earl, and there may be a large army behind her to support her. Sir, could it be the vanguard of the Imperial Army? They are about to launch a full-scale attack. The knight raised his chest solemnly. I am willing to die for you. No. Field and Vivian denied it in unison. Winter is coming soon. If they come with an army of 70,000 or 80,000, it will be easier to deal with. Field sneered. Cut off the retreat. No need to fight. Everyone can be frozen to death or starved to death. Sir, I guess the harassment is the Queen's order. Shirley may come here simply for revenge. After all, we killed her chosen one. Vivian made a guess. In this case, the intensity of the war will not be too great. It's just right to let the newly formed Mage Corps practice. With a gleam in his eyes, Field waved his hand. Send an order, let the 1st Corps of Mages, the 2nd Corps of the Snow Lion Knights, and the Asian Dragon Knights follow me to the battle. Shirley, I don't know what you want to do, but if you bully my people, I will fight you to the end. Field didn't care. Shirley was once a friend. If you dare to slaughter your own people, there is only one end. In Field's view, the duty of the Lord is to protect the people. If the people are oppressed and slaughtered by the enemy, what's the point? Fight back hard, no matter who the mother is. Are you going in person, sir? Vivian picked up the teacup. You come too, help plan and command this battle. Call the Thunder Dragon, she will be the backbone. Travel lightly, don't bring any artillery magic cores, draw them from the local area. Field was thinking about training the troops, and by the way, practice the command ability of his men. There are too few people in the Night Territory who can lead the army. Except for the little fat dragon and Asina, it's just me. Okay. This time, all the members have extraordinary power, a total of 2,050 people. The 5th level god chosen only brought 2 filthy blood wings, and the black feather was left to watch the house. The group moved very quickly, and assembled in 2 hours. That night, they took the portal to Rick Province. At this time, the Northwind city of the Wild Beast Baron was under siege. The army of the robber nobles scattered around the Northwind city like raindrops. Brothers, nail the people to the board quickly. I want to see if those damned Easterners dare to shoot arrows. A death row prisoner tied a naked woman to a wooden board to make a human shield. Shit, fill the mud bags quickly. If you don't fill the trench before dark, your wife will go to the front line. Another thug used a thorn whip to whip the captured laborers. These damn beasts are more beastly than me. The Wild Beast Baron, who was hiding behind the city wall, poked his head out to peek, and his heart was half cold. Chapter 1097. Baron Crazy Beast looked at the dense crowd outside Northwind City with an extremely ugly expression. I knew that I was assigned to the border to be a shield for field. Baron Crazy Beast cursed helplessly and lowered his head. A crossbow arrow flew past his helmet. Shoot, shoot. Sir, many of us have been captured. The Imperial Army used them as human shields. These bastards attacked while everyone was working outside. The archers hesitated, and the bowstrings were opened and released. Most of Baron Crazy Beast's soldiers were not off duty. They served in the war, and had to work on weekdays. Many soldiers and their families were captured while working outside the city. Stupid. If you can't do it, tomorrow you and your family will be tied to it and attack the next city. What does it matter if you lose your wife and children? 2 leeches are enough. If you lose your wife, you can find another one. If you lose your children, you can have another one. Even if your father is tied to the shield car, shoot arrows at me. The bloodshot eyes of the Wild Beast Baron swept across the circle, and the fierce momentum stunned everyone. The archers on the wall drew their bows again. Looking out of the parapet, they found that the crossbowmen of Shirley's army had already touched the bottom of the wall. Swish, swish, swish. The arrows rose up, and the dense rain of arrows covered the wall. Immediately, more than a dozen people were shot in the face, and fell to the ground wailing. Fight back, don't let them get close. The Wild Beast Baron held the Dochi war bow, and fought back personally, firing powerful Dochi arrows. A sonic boom sounded, and the terrifying fighting spirit arrow directly nailed a shield-wielding crossbowman to the ground with his shield. Attack! With a ninth shout, 200 siege soldiers gathered around the newly made battering ram and moved forward. The crossbowmen, divided into small teams, hid behind the shield car and suppressed the city wall with firepower. The defense of the northern city was weak, and a small amount of stones and crossbows were not effective when they were fired at the scattered troops. Shirley's siege method was very methodical. She did not attack in a swarm, but used small troops to disperse the firepower. The battering ram successfully reached the city gate. 8 fighting knights lifted the battering ram together and smashed it hard at the city gate. At the same time, a chosen one holding a war hammer, under the cover of everyone, swung the hammer wildly and smashed it on the city gate. Bang! The broken stones flew, the city gate trembled violently, and the defensive magic applied on it disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. The heart of the Wild Beast Baron also pounded, and he angrily swung his fist and hit the wall. Damn Griffin Queen, I'm not ready for an undeclared war. Pour hot oil and burn the battering ram. The officer guarding the wall line, spitting, holding a lit torch in his hand, urged to pour hot oil. Yes. The soldiers around hurriedly pushed the hot oil with a pole, ready to pour it down. 3rd level magic skill, Blade Rain. Just at this moment, the robber noble god chosen, who had been prepared, suddenly emerged from the shield car and shot out continuous flying blades. The silver light enveloped the top of the wall, accompanied by the ruthless cutting sound of the sharp blade. The archers on the wall were strangled, and the hot oil pan was also shot and exploded, and the boiling hot oil splashed everywhere. The officer was not spared, and his entire waist was shattered. The torch in his hand fell. Whoosh, the flames rose. The battering ram failed to burn, but the defense line of the city gate was directly destroyed. A large number of soldiers were on fire, wailing and running away, and they jumped directly from the city wall with no other options, just like hell. It's so easy, no different from the enemies we dealt with before. Why didn't I see the long-barreled weapon you mentioned, the weapon that can emit lightning and iron balls? Aunt Shirley Morag folded her hands in front of her chest, sitting steadily on the warhorse, with a terrifying momentum. It seems that Field has a small number of such weapons, which may be God's chosen creation. Shirley nodded slightly, and breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. What good news! I will convey it to the Queen. She had fought with the Earl of Fire before. The muskets and artillery of the Field army made her unforgettable. The terrifying scene of being shot in rows by the enemy every time she took a step forward has always been her unforgettable nightmare. Now it seems that even important frontline cities are not equipped with them. This weapon must be a rare God's chosen creation, which can only be equipped by the guards. You said before that Field is military-oriented and his domestic affairs are terrible. Now it seems that only his direct army is strong, and the local army is just garbage. Morag shook his head repeatedly. We have burned 8 villages and towns, and we haven't seen any enemy reinforcements. The enemy's scouts and light cavalry will run away as if they saw a ghost when they saw us. Don't be careless, Aunt. Shirley turned her head and advised with a smile. I know. Aunt, you are the most powerful, but it's best to be careful. The goddess of war has witnessed that the nobles in the central part of our empire are not comparable to those in the remote areas. Morag raised his head proudly. Among the 5 major regions of the empire, the nobles in the central part are the most powerful, and the cities are also rich. Any news of enemy reinforcements? Shirley and the main army were in the siege camp, looking at the attack and defense situation from afar. She didn't care much about the battle situation in Northwind City, because it was too simple. Baron Wild Beast was no match for her, and was beaten to the ground. What she cared about was the reinforcements. Report to Lady Shirley, no army was found. The knight of the Garcia family, wearing dark blue armor, proudly puffed out his chest. That group of cowards dared not leave the city at all. Great, Field really didn't digest the newly occupied territory so quickly. It will probably take a month for his direct army to come. By then, I can recover half of Rick Province. Shirley raised a confident smile at the corner of her mouth, and her strong woman temperament made her worthy of the title of female knight. The surrounding robber nobles were all excited. Recovering half of the province, what a great achievement that is. She will definitely become a hero of the Griffin Empire. It's a pity. I still want to communicate with Field's reinforcements. Shirley sighed and raised her sword. Prepare for a full-scale attack. I believe we can create a miracle. Take Northwind City in 3 days, behead Baron Wild Beast, and present it to Her Majesty the Queen. Victory! Praise the goddess. The soldiers around were excited and shouting, their eyes full of desire for gold coins and reproduction. It's over! It's over! The enemy's attack is more fierce. Listening to the chaotic shouting, Baron Wild Beast's heart was half cold, and he was hesitating whether to lead the army to break through. My lord, look over there. The flag is the flag of the knight. Just as Baron Wild Beast was struggling, the adjutant's sudden roar made Baron Wild Beast feel like he was reborn, and he hurriedly looked into the distance. On the distant skyline, Field, holding the battle flag, wearing black fighting armor and riding a warhorse, was the first to appear in the sight of Northwind City. Chapter 1098. The black robe of the warhorse rustled in the wind, and the regular golden rose embroidery on it was exquisite, elegant, and luxurious. Field stood still with his horse, like a steel sculpture, full of deterrence. Boom boom, the horse's hooves sounded like drums. Rows of fighting knights slowly entered the battlefield and stood behind Field. All of them were wearing fighting plate armor, the warhorses were wearing robes, and the horses were shining. The triangular flags on the lances fluttered like a colorful ocean. It is said that there are thousands of people, not to mention the iron cavalry with people and horses. Normal people can't count how many cavalry there are. They just feel that there are mud trucks everywhere, and they don't know where the people are. Next, it was the knight leader mage holding a staff. Their robes were all in the style of windbreakers, equipped with light armor and leather armor inside, and each person was equipped with a rapier. This is not a movie. The mages are all a group of mysterious old men wearing big robes. The mages of Nightfall also need to learn fighting and basic training. Unfortunately, there is no magic windbreaker, so they can only use light armor instead. It seems that illusion spells are still useful. Field looked at the attackers and defenders in surprise. There are many types of magic, which can be roughly divided into destruction, illusion, summoning, and auxiliary. The Nightfall army arrived silently, with the help of illusion spells, visual reflection, silence, and other magic. However, this advantage is limited to the situation where there are more mages. Vivian, you will command. Remember what I taught you before. Add your own ideas. Field closed the visor and rubbed the lance in his hand. Be bold in using troops. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Red Raven is under your command. Just by looking at the enemy's siege camp and potential logistics routes, Field was very sure that the enemy was definitely not at level 6. Yes! Wiping away the cold sweat on her forehead, Vivian took several deep breaths and said, "Knights, mages, stagger your positions. All mages, provide defense and speed up the buff. Thousands of mages, release shell magic and wind whisper magic nearby, and buff each knight." Field suddenly felt that the heavy armor on his body became light, as if covered with a layer of paper shell. He lowered his head, and his armor was shining, and his defense was greatly enhanced. "My lord, you lead 200 cavalry to rescue Northwind City. The rest of the cavalry, led by Red Raven, are ready to intercept the enemy reinforcements." Vivian quickly gave orders. "Warriors, the Griffin Empire looks down on us and sends some bandits to burn, kill and plunder, thinking they can control us. I will kill them first, and let the high and mighty Imperial nobles know our blades. Is it sharp? The sharp blade of the Night Lord. Follow me to charge." Field squeezed the horse's belly and leaped forward. Blue Raven and Thunder Dragon were protecting him, not afraid of death at all. "Kill!" The armored cavalry behind him began to gallop. With the blessing of magic, they didn't care about the rules of war horses trotting and pacing. They just charged hard and finished the job. 200 cavalry galloped on their horses, holding their lances horizontally, and fighting skills brewed on the lances, like a moving steel barrier. "Report to Lady Shirley, a large number of enemy knights have been found in the south of our army. They are charging towards our siege troops." The cavalry galloped, and Shirley's scouts discovered that a cavalry had appeared without anyone noticing, and even the formation was complete. It was incredible. "What?" Shirley was stunned and blurted out, "Impossible." Her vigilance was absolutely in place. A single chosen one could slip through, but a large army could not. When she heard the report, it was too late. The enemy cavalry was rushing towards the siege army she had sent at a terrifying speed. At this time, the two chosen ones, Lamy, who were concentrating on attacking the city, killed dozens of people in a row and were ready to jump onto the city wall. They had superb perception and suddenly realized that something was wrong. They turned around and almost got scared. The enemy cavalry actually launched a back charge against their own army. They were all fighting knights. But the 400 or 500 soldiers of their own army were showing off their power, and were full of thoughts of killing into the city and slaughtering, and they had not yet realized the murderous intent behind them. If they formed a spear phalanx immediately, they would still have a chance to stab the two knights to death, but facing the cavalry charge with the back of their heads, the end would be undisputed. Boom, boom, the earth shook. Trampling on the muddy ground, splashing out tiny bits of mud, Field stretched out his spear as hard as he could, and the flag fluttered. Field and his horse, like a black steel train, aimed at the densely packed enemy and slashed fiercely. Bang, bang, bang. The steel was torn and rubbed, blood splattered and screamed and wailed, intertwined in an instant. 17 or 18 soldiers were directly crushed into a blood mist by Field, who was rolling over at a rapid speed. It all happened too suddenly. The smiles of the other soldiers around him were still frozen on their faces, even though the blood mist sprayed by their comrades drenched them. Bang, bang, bang. The Snow Lion Knights led by Field followed closely behind and crushed them, like a steamroller, directly submerging the siege army in steel and horse hooves. Limbs flew everywhere. The knights rushed out of the formation like crushing ants, leaving only 2 or 3 lucky ones standing there covered in blood. The brothers who had fought side by side before were all trampled into pulp. "You bastard, you dare to attack my territory, die." The charge of the Dookie Knights was not just a simple charge. Field and others also accumulated fighting skills. Especially Field, as a 5th level Dookie Knight, the power of fighting skills is extremely terrifying. Nearly 200 Dookies bombarded the two chosen gods, who besieged the city. Wow! In the horrified eyes of the two, the gorgeous Dookies bombarded wildly. One person was directly killed by the fighting skills, and the other was held by the dissociation artifact. Before he had time to escape, the big thunder dragon flashed out and stabbed him to death with a shot. The siege of Beifong City was directly won. "Oh my God, Goddess bless you." The wild beast Baron burst into laughter. He was originally thinking of attacking from both inside and outside or other tricks, but he didn't expect to win directly. Originally, he was unhappy with Field and his army, but now he wanted to pounce on them and kiss them fiercely. Some chosen ones sacrificed. Damn it, damn it. Shirley's aunt, Morag's face changed drastically. She watched 2 third-level chosen ones being killed and became furious. She was originally vigilant, but it was only limited to being vigilant against the enemy's chosen ones and beheading Shirley. Who knew that an army of 2,000 people would just walk up to her face? Where did the army come from? It was local reinforcements. Shirley's eyebrows jumped wildly. I wanted to lure the reinforcements to annihilate them, but they moved too fast. Fortunately, my main force and the siege army are separated. Otherwise, the end result would be drowned by the cavalry together. I go and destroy that cavalry. Just as Morag was about to rush out, Shirley quickly stopped him, and, once the army takes action, there must be the support of the chosen ones. Don't attack the small fry until the enemy's chosen ones move. All troops, listen up, prepare for battle. Glancing at the army in the distance, Shirley saw Vivian and gritted her teeth. We can fight. Chapter 1099. Shirley took a deep breath, calmed down quickly, and straightened her chest, showing the noble spirit of the Garcia family. I have never seen the enemy commander, but she can lead the army alone, so she must be Field's confidant, and most likely the chosen one. Kill her, and Her Majesty will be able to reduce a lot of losses when launching an attack in the future. With a plan in mind, Shirley began to mobilize troops. Fortunately, she had already thought of a head-on confrontation. Facing the night army, Shirley's army only made a slight adjustment, and formed a confrontation formation. Sir, can we really win? The thug soldiers beside him looked terrified. He dared to hit the villagers hard, but he was not sure about the large-scale regular army. Especially the knights led by Field, who instantly defeated the siege troops. The bloody scene made the thugs realize the cruelty of war. Of course we can fight, show your courage. Shirley raised her eyebrows and looked at the thugs with an unbelievable expression. Why are you worried about a tired army? It's just a local army that hastily came to support. Just annihilate them. The goddess of war is watching us. Shirley loudly encouraged everyone. The soldiers saw that Shirley was fearless, and their morale quickly gathered. Shirley, the enemy's equipment. Extending her perception, Morag was horrified to find that there were no ordinary people in the supporting army. This was an armed force composed entirely of extraordinary powers. What surprised her most was the terrifying number of the opponent's mages. Even if the Fire Earl assembled all the troops in the High Castle, and the Imperial Army supported them, the Mage Army only had about 1,000 people. Don't worry, the enemy is mainly cavalry, and there are no decent infantry. It means that the enemy came in a hurry, and it is a good time to counterattack. Shirley excitedly swung her sword. Those are not infantry, they are mages. Cold sweat ran down his cheeks, and Morag suddenly realized that now the arrow is on the string. Even if it is said that they are mages, it is useless. My family is all infantry. Can they escape from the pursuit of more than 1,000 fighting knights? In the end, they will still die. It is better to use the thugs as cannon fodder to consume the number and physical strength of the enemy. I know now we can only fight. Morag guessed Shirley's intention, but he didn't expect Shirley to be overwhelmed by the battle situation. Shirley didn't understand. She jumped out of the horse. Archers come forward. Noble knights test the two wings. Dong dong dong, the war drum sounded. The archers ran to the front of the formation in a mess and shot arrows into the soil. Shoot! The archers immediately fired their crossbows, sparsely shooting arrows that fell into the cavalry led by Field. Ding ding dang dang, the sound of hitting came, without even a cry of pain. The Snow Lion Knights, who were already protected by fighting spirit and had advanced and complete armor, not to mention the magic blessing, could not even polish ordinary arrows. Warriors, go out of the city and form a battle formation to support the brothers of the Night Lord and rescue our people. The Wild Beast Baron saw the Night Lord's battle formation and remained motionless, knowing that the two rescue armies were very sure. He seized the opportunity to roar, and by the way, he could also cover up his previous ruthlessness. Go out of the city and form a battle formation to support friendly forces. The soldiers in the city were eager to fight, and they roared and pushed open the northern city gate, pouring out. About 400 or 500 soldiers, with their backs against the city wall, formed 3 small square formations to support the army led by Knight. The soldiers in the city have joined. Shirley immediately felt the pressure. Fighting on the enemy's territory is no joke. The enemy can get reinforcements at any time. Take advantage of the fact that the army of the Wild Beast Baron has not gained a firm foothold, and ordinary knights will attack. Aunt, you lead the family cavalry to stand by. Shirley kept swallowing her saliva, clenched her fists, turned her head, and whispered to the robber nobles beside her. Cavalry, attack the soldiers of the North City, and wipe them out under the city. Brothers of the family, test the right wing of the enemy's formation. More than 100 cavalry led by the robber nobles galloped on their horses, like eagles spreading their wings. The horses roared, and the knights held their spears horizontally and protected their shields in front of their chests, with amazing momentum. Field, do you want to intercept them? I can kill them all by myself. Freya was very excited. No need, if Shirley is not mentally ill, it is definitely a feint. If you rush out, you will be beaten. Field sneered. I guess the enemy's chosen one wants to take action. Who is a good person to use more than 100 cavalry to charge the infantry, who are in formation behind the city? I am not far away, it is simply to die. As expected by Field, Shirley's cavalry rushed to 100 meters away, suddenly turned their horses' heads, turned a big arc, and retreated to the rear. Shoot! The rain of arrows fell. The wild beast Baron is a veteran on the battlefield. He immediately asked the archers on the city wall, and the crossbowmen in formation to shoot arrows together, shooting down more than a dozen cavalry. Amidst the people and horses, a figure rushed quickly in the chaotic cavalry. It was Shirley's aunt, Morag, a 5th-level cavalry god chosen with unparalleled sprinting speed. If Field had taken the initiative to block the enemy's cavalry just now, Morag would have been able to rush in and kill the entire cavalry directly. But now, she rushed in alone, and everyone saw it. Really? Freya patted Field in surprise. If I go to attack the cavalry, I will probably be ambushed. It doesn't matter if you don't fall for it, you will still be strangled. Shirley gritted her teeth. She believed that her aunt could still harvest quickly. Oh no, the enemy god chosen rushed towards you. Vivian's heart jumped. After all, she was a newcomer on the battlefield and didn't see through Shirley's tricks. But she immediately took remedial measures, operating the fragmentation bombardment cannon to bombard Morag to remind Field. Boom! The space was distorted, and a blue light fell like a meteor, blowing up the surrounding land. Morag was sprinting when she was suddenly attacked. She was shocked. Fortunately, the power of the first-level magic skill was limited. She just paused for a moment, and immediately rushed towards Field. Go to hell, go to hell. Morag's lance flashed with the light of magic skill. Blue Raven, stop the enemy. Field did not hesitate at all, and snapped his fingers. Leave it to me, he responded coldly. The blue raven on the right side of the warhorse touched the ground with its snow-white lotus feet, and its blue skirt fluttered. In an instant, it turned into a ferocious flying dragon, with blue flames bursting all over its body, and collided with it at a terrifying speed. But the strong airflow almost blew over the army formation of the wild beast Baron. Bang! There was an explosion. The two fast figures slammed into each other, and the deafening slapping sound made Field's ears buzz and hurt. Morag's magic beast warhorse was directly shattered, and she was dragged by the blue raven and knocked 1,000 meters away. The two of them kept falling to the ground and rolling, creating 7 or 8 large pits. As soon as they stopped, Blue Raven turned into a human form again, and took the azure and transparent glass sword. Chapter 1100. Level 5 Divine Skill, Magic Lance Sniper. The Blue Raven floated in the air like a fallen fairy, and its plump rabbit trembled and swayed slightly, creating an alluring arc. Raising the long sword, the ice blue divine power quickly gathered. With a crisp sound, the blue beam of light blasted towards Morag's head like a dragon. Morag suffered a small loss from the previous collision, but she adjusted immediately and smashed out with the artifact lance fiercely. Bang broke the blue raven's close-range sniper. Good, 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 the northern nobles have long been thinking about rebellion. Morag laughed angrily, his face grim. Just a quick test, it's a strange 5th-level god chosen. I had never heard of it before under the rule of the Griffin Empire. Now it's showing up. Shirley, who was watching the battle from a distance, was also equally angry. He didn't show up when fighting for the Griffin Queen, but now that Field is in power, he has learned to be loyal. The traitor in the north should be killed. In their opinion, this strange god of war god system god chosen must be a hidden conspiracy force. After all, they have never heard of it. If she had massacred the village before, she would still feel guilty, but after seeing the hidden 5th-level god chosen, the guilt immediately gave way to the dog. What are you talking about? Blue Raven didn't understand, and replied coldly, strange human. No more nonsense. Blue Raven rushed forward, the sword light flowed, and every move was aimed at the vital point. The whole space was instantly filled with sword light, like broken glass, gorgeous and dangerous. Morag was not afraid, and the spear was full of violent energy. The sword and spear collided more than 100 times, sparks flew. The two fought with no regard for their lives. Morag was hit by the sword's light many times in the throat, and Blue Raven was also covered by the spear's light, and was almost stabbed in the pupil. Level 5 Divine Skill, Instantaneous Gun Fixation. Morag suddenly jumped up and flew over Blue Raven, and divine power gathered like a tide. The invincible gun style was activated, and the God of War's divine power was like a golden flame, swirling on the spear, with the momentum of splitting the sky and the earth, and suddenly slashed out. Boom! Blue Raven was hit hard, and his body exploded backwards, and his divine shield was obviously broken. Even the thin skirt on his body was broken, revealing the ambiguous whiteness. The white wrist turned, and the glass sword penetrated into the soil. Blue Raven bit his leg slightly, and the vulnerability that was unintentionally revealed was lovable. Hee, the Knight Army is not that powerful either. Morag snorted proudly. Then I take one that's not that powerful either. Blue Raven's hair swept across his red snowy shoulders, and the long sword was held upright in front of his chest. Level 5 divine skill, 1,000 waves. Suddenly, the vast divine power gathered to form an illusory energy long sword that was 100 meters long and wide. Raising the long sword high, Blue Raven slashed out indifferently. The sword light flashed, and a dazzling brilliance was cut out in the space. The roaring and shining sword light contained the scorching heat of the dragon beast's breath and the extreme coldness given by the violent divine power. The moment it was slashed, it seemed to split the world apart. Bang! Morag was drowned by the sword light, and suddenly felt that countless mountains were smashing on his head. Accompanied by the invincible slash, a deep gully appeared on the ground. Auntie! Shirley trembled all over, and was almost scared silly. I'm fine, don't worry. Fortunately, a stream of light flew out from the ravine, and Morag's armor was torn. He flew out with an ugly face and vomited blood. Get out of here, you traitor to the Empire. No, I must follow orders. Blue Raven shook his head, holding a long sword, and attacked again. Morag shot out, and repelled the Blue Raven, then attacked again. The two sides were deadlocked again, and Blue Raven's physical strength was slightly exhausted. What a pity, it's slightly better than 60 to 40, and it can be regarded as a slight disadvantage. I'm afraid it won't be determined if we fight for another half an hour. Seeing this, Field secretly regretted it, and comforted himself. Anyway, it's free for recharging the phone bill. It's better than Night Owl. As Blackfeather's follower, he was weakened by a quarter. You know, the more chosen one is, even a wisp of power will lead to a huge difference. Blue Raven's combat power should have been stronger. Field had seen it in the secret realm. Now that it can barely tie, it is considered to have reached the passing line. At least it can withstand the same level of combat power. There is no problem. After all, it is normal for the same level of chosen ones to fight, and be difficult to determine the winner. Like Asina and Little Sun, they can kill people at any time, but they are a minority after all. Who are you? Shirley looked at Field with burning eyes. Why do you want to be loyal to Field? Damn, you don't recognize me even with a mask on. Field was speechless, but changed his mind. God's chosen is the Lord's ID card, and his external sign is a little scorpion. It is normal that Shirley didn't recognize Blue Raven when she saw him. Ahem, I am from the north. Maid Knight's Black Knight. Field looked funny, but it was a pity that Shirley couldn't see it. This is not nonsense. Blue and Red Raven are both members of the Maid Knights. Maid Knights. Shirley was speechless. It was the first time she heard such a weird knight group. Very good, you will pay the price for your foolish behavior. Really? Why don't you take a look at your elite cavalry? Field was unhappy. You like feints, don't you? So fancy. Elite cavalry? Shocked, Shirley turned her head quickly. Her heart sank. It turned out that her aunt had been fighting fiercely with Blue Raven, and was almost killed, which attracted all her attention. She completely forgot that she had sent out her family knights to feint an attack on the main force of Knight, from the right wing to protect her aunt. Boom boom boom. The 300 elites of the Garcia Knights, all fighting with fighting spirit, rushed over with great momentum. Miss Red Raven blocked the front. Snow Lion Knights divide into two teams, outflanking from left and right. Magician, trap magic, trap the enemy, don't let any escape. Vivian commanded in an orderly manner. Brothers, the night is mighty. I will kill all those cubs. The nobles of the central province, let your father see if you are flesh and blood. The knights of the Snow Lion Knights were eager to watch the battle, and when they thought of the arrogant attitude of the other side, they shouted to fight wildly. Countless people shouted in unison, and the shout shook the sky. Under the flying flags, they quickly flew in two rows, and quickly surrounded the Garcia Knights, like an open wolf mouth, showing murderous intent. And the Red Raven, dragging a giant sword bigger than a person, faced the roaring knights alone, showing its sharp fangs. Hee, the prey is here. Licking the corner of his mouth, the Red Raven was full of expectation. Not good. Speed up and rush out, don't get surrounded. The captain of the knights was shocked, and this feint attack might turn into a suicide. However, the knight masters chanted in unison or used short staffs to write runes in the air. Flowing lights of various colors fell, and the ground where the Garcia knights stepped on quickly turned into a swamp. The ground was crawling, and thorns grew. The knights were already galloping, and the obstacles that suddenly appeared under their feet instantly tripped the cavalry and threw them upside down. The Dookie knight fell heavily to the ground and sank into the mud. Chapter 1101. The knights of the Garcia family were trapped in the muddy land by the wizard and could not gallop. The knights fell off their horses like dumplings and were in a miserable state. Hunting the enemy cavalry, don't let any of them go. With a loud roar, the knight captain of the Knight Curtain raised his lance and rushed towards the enemy, his eyes full of anger. The Griffin Queen was simply too much. Not only did she fight head-on, but she also played the trick of slaughtering the village. How could she not hate her? Kill! The iron hoof shook the world, and the Knight Curtain cavalry increased their speed to the fastest speed, rushing forward in a black mass. All kinds of gorgeous fighting skills, while riding horses, completed the accumulation of power, and ruthlessly smashed the enemy cavalry formation. Bang bang bang. The fighting skills exploded everywhere, and gravel flew. The Warcraft horses were not driven by their masters, and they were frightened by the explosion and fled in all directions. The Knights' regiment became an infantry regiment. A scarlet spiral fighting skill fell with a buzzing sound, hitting the face of the Garcia family knight. The helmet was instantly crushed to pieces, and the head exploded. It would be a good thing to die in battle. His comrade beside him was hit by the thunder-attributed fighting skill, twitching all over, and fell into the mud and could not get up. The surrounding army was trampled by the iron hooves of the war horses, but the fighting spirit had been maintaining his life. He wailed and watched himself being trampled into meat paste. Many Garcia family knights tried to break out of the siege or fly out directly with their superb fighting skills and strong fighting spirit. But even the elite among the elites, facing the siege of several times the number of enemies, ended up being chopped down. This group of vicious knight leaders, damn it. Brothers, form a circle, do not retreat, defend on the spot. The captain of the knight team grabbed the robes of his comrades beside him, pulled them to his side, and yelled at them to form a formation. However, facing the knight cavalry charging from all sides, all this was pale and powerless. Ha ha, all of you go to hell. Red Raven dragged the giant sword and fiercely crashed into the formation, as if a blender was stuffed into a piece of meat, and blood and flesh splattered. The Garcia knights collapsed in an instant. Then, the knight cavalry was like a silver-white tide, drowning the blue flag of the Garcia family. Weapons collided, horses neighed, and soldiers screamed and screamed, resounding throughout the wilderness. No, you can't do this, stop it. Seeing her precious fighting knights disappearing rapidly, Shirley's heart was bleeding. The Garcia family's foundation was not much, and losing so many knights was like cutting flesh on the wound. It's still not too late to break the siege now. We must seize the initiative. She clenched her hands, gritted her teeth and shouted, the whole army attacks for the glory of the empire. Using the army of the robber nobles to rescue their own knights is urgent. Woo, a low horn sounded. Attack! Attack! Thousands of soldiers shouted to give themselves courage. Except for the archers who continued to shoot, all of Shirley's troops took steps in unison and moved forward. Like a wave, they rushed towards the knight cavalry. The enemy's intention is very clear, which is to break the siege of the cavalry. Everyone predicts the enemy's path in advance. The magic army disperses, and each group uses group damage long-range spells to bombard the enemy army in turn. Vivian was not panicked at all, but seized the opportunity. Magic Army Project. Kill! The Night Mages are not soft old men. Many of them come from the Shadow religion, and the rest are bloody students with amazing fighting spirit. There were 200 mages in the first row, holding their staffs high, and blasting out the third-level spell, Pyrotechnic Fireball in unison. Pyrotechnic Fireball, third level, a high-cost destruction spell that causes a spell explosion in the target area. More than 100 fireballs streaked across the sky in a shocking trajectory, and billowing smoke remained in the sky for a long time. The fireballs fell into Shirley's army, with a sound of breaking wind. Oh no, why are they all mages? Shirley's heart skipped a beat. This army is full of extraordinary people? Impossible. How can so many extraordinary forces be found in the 3 northern provinces? Bang. The flames swept violently, and the air suddenly twisted due to the high temperature. A whole group of soldiers were blown to pieces in the blooming mushroom cloud. Weapons and armor fragments stained with flames fell one after another, mixed with roasted flesh and blood. Bang bang bang. Continuous fireballs covered and attacked Shirley's army. Amid the miserable howling, countless soldiers were bathed in flames, dancing and running away. More soldiers were directly killed by fireballs. After the first row of mages bombarded, the second row of mages immediately launched, and Vivian adopted the tactics of muskets, and the firepower was endless. Under the strong firepower, whether you are a downtrodden noble or a thug full of evil, you will be shattered. The legion of 3,000 people was blown to pieces, and corpses were everywhere. Goddess, what stupid thing am I doing? A robber noble was hit on the head by a broken arm, and the bloody arm fell into his hand again. He was at a loss for a few seconds, and couldn't figure out why he was fighting with Field. He just followed the queen's orders to come here to harass and rob. But why did he tie up Shirley's chariot in a confused manner? Turning his horse around, he turned and ran. No retreat, whoever retreats will die. Shirley's back teeth were almost broken, and she slashed with a sword in anger, chopping off the knight's head. The enemies are all mages, and they can't fight for a few rounds. As long as we get close, we can defeat them. When she saw Yimu leading the mages, she knew that there was no chance of winning this battle. But ordinary troops have no way to fight against mages. She even has very few archers, and can't counter them at all. She must rescue the family knights, otherwise she will be the center of the family. Shirley cut down dozens of deserters in a row, thinking that she could arouse the will to die of the people, but she didn't expect that the people were hit too hard by the spells, and they were scattered and turned into a pile of loose sand. Come back, don't run, you can't run away from the fighting knight. Shirley shouted in vain, and when she heard the shouts, two thugs shouted bitch and poked her with spears. Traitors, you deserve to die. Shirley killed the two men with a knife, and looked around in despair. The 3,000 troops she had gathered were not even able to fight the enemy hand to hand, but were actually blasted away by magic. Field and the wild beast Baron seized the opportunity to chase and kill the fleeing soldiers. It was as pleasant as driving a flock of sheep. Field held a long sword and ordered kneel down and surrender while slashing the fleeing soldiers with the long sword in his hand. The quality of the soldiers is too different. It's not my fault. Shirley was dissatisfied and wiped the dust off her face. Buzz the space hummed, and Vivian's disintegration cannon aimed at Shirley. The blue beam fell like a meteor, and Shirley immediately felt the breath of death. Be careful. At the critical moment, Aunt Morag flashed and blocked the attack with a slap. Shirley, retreat quickly, the knights are finished. Chapter 1102. But we can still retreat to Thornfish Town. Shirley was still trying to struggle with tears in her eyes. Don't be lucky. Thornfish Town can't stop the attack of a large army. Morag said seriously, I have seen more knight army leaders rushing here. Run quickly, or it will be too late. Let's go together. Shirley had never seen her aunt look so serious, and hurriedly urged her. Don't think about running away. Blue Raven was wearing a battle-damaged skirt. The originally gorgeous long-tail skirt was almost turned into a buttock skirt, and the blue ribbon fluttered in the wind. If the fight continues, I guess I can only use ribbons to cover the key parts. With a cold expression, Blue Raven swung her sword, leaving a brilliant sword light in the air. My lord wants me to kill you. Shirley, go away quickly, stop talking nonsense, I can come back in time. You clingy guy, your willpower is too strong. Morag spat out a mouthful of blood foam, knowing that Shirley was unwilling to leave, and suddenly activated the zero-level life-saving artifact. Protective bubble, wrapped the confused Shirley in the bubble, and pushed her to the south. No, aunt! Shirley's pupils trembled, and she kept slapping the bubble and crying loudly. I didn't say I wanted to die, you look down on me too much. Turning around, Morag held the gun in one hand and pointed it directly at Blue Raven, with a magnificent momentum. She was confident that she could defeat Blue Raven, or even kill her. Ready to die? A cold and pleasant voice came from a charming woman in a red dress, dragging a huge sword, and her snow-white lotus feet were stained with a large piece of blood. In the midst of madness, there was a stunning beauty. Twins chosen by God? Morag's eyes almost popped out when he saw the red raven. The two chosen ones look similar, and they are actually extremely rare twin chosen ones. No, it can't be said to be rare, it's completely a legend. The chosen ones in the north are really hiding deep. It seems that there is no way to kill one of the chosen ones, so let's fight and retreat. Morag took a deep breath, as if facing a great enemy. Her divine power surged, and she waved her gun domineeringly. But I want to see who can stop me if I want to leave. 5th level divine skill, Howling Assault. Red Raven grabbed her chest with her left hand, spit out a mouthful of blood, and condensed a scarlet ball of light. The moment she crushed it, Her long hair flew without wind, and her momentum soared. Her strength and speed were fully enhanced, and her body was burning with blood. At this moment, she looked a little bit like a disaster. Morag felt that he was being targeted by the murderous intent, and his hair stood on end. What a brutal amplification ability. The next moment, the Red Raven suddenly disappeared and appeared behind Morag, with sword shadows roaring and falling all over the sky, invincible. Get out of the way, 5th level divine skill, War God Shadow. War God Shadow, exclusive to the Goddess of War, not unique, condensing the Goddess's shadow to assist in attack and defense. Morag also activated the enhanced divine skill. Although this divine skill is a common ability to defeat the gods, it is extremely powerful. The shadow emerged, and Morag's figure seemed to be magnified several times, and he resisted the bombardment of the Red Raven. With an unstoppable shot, Morag went straight to the opponent's heart. Bang! The beam of light came, and Morag's spear was deflected, but the Red Raven was not surprised at all. He stepped on the opponent's spear, exerted his arms, and drove the giant sword to smash the shadow fiercely. The shadow trembled violently, and dimmed by 4 points. Oops, who ambushed me? Morag's spiritual sense sensed everywhere, but she couldn't find the source of the attack. Little did she know that Blue Raven had the ability to snipe, and was attacking remotely at this moment. Don't be distracted. 5th level divine skill, Hellfire. While distracted, the scorching flames hit Morag solidly. With a charming smile, the Red Raven's giant sword suddenly accelerated, and with an invincible flame, it slashed the shadow with one sword. The shadow of the God of War exploded and dissipated immediately. The sword light was still powerful, crushing Morag's armor into powder, and leaving a deep sword mark on her shoulder. What a monster! Morag was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Her trump card was actually blown up in a short period of time. What she didn't know was that as a follower of Black Feather, Raven's value was greatly weakened, but her skills were extremely high quality. The 2 divine skills of Red Raven can make up for the lack of physical fitness. In normal state, the combat power of Red Raven is completely exponentially improved, and the lethality is amazing. Go to hell. The sword light was extremely domineering, and Red Raven pinched Morag like a chicken, beating him wildly. The 2 of them, one far away and one close, stuck to Morag and beat him violently, cooperating closely with each other, and Morag had no hope of fighting back. Field, Shirley was escorted away by the artifact. The Thunder Dragon was having fun on the battlefield, and saw Shirley being wrapped in a bubble and escaping, and hurried to find Field. Go chase her quickly, and kill her if you can't catch her alive. If you really can't catch up, or encounter enemy reinforcements, retreat. Field narrowed his eyes, hesitated for no more than a second, and immediately asked the Thunder Dragon to chase. Although Shirley was once a friend, after the battle with the Earl of Fire, he was slaughtered by her in 7 or 8 villages. At this moment, Field was only angry with her. As for the 5th level gods chosen that she brought, they would naturally be fed to the Thunder Dragon, and the relationship between the 2 sides was destined to be a fight to the death. There was no mercy for women. Field just wanted to avenge the dead people. Buzz. The lightning jumped, and the Thunder Dragon kept flashing, and it seemed that it was about to catch up. Suddenly, a knight group rushed out, and the gods chosen, who was in the lead, burst into 4th level divine power and intercepted the bubble escorting Shirley. The bubble burst. Sir Kane! Shirley resisted the dizziness, and the moment she saw Kane, she almost cried. The people who came were Kane's Broken Blade Knights, and the 4th level gods chosen Morwenna. They were commissioned by Shirley to disguise themselves as escaped farmers, and blend into other cities in Rick Province. But Kane did not execute it, nor did he come to participate in the war. Quick, come back with me, we can kill the enemy. Shirley seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw. Sorry, I can't do this. Kane shook his head repeatedly. Then at least, help my aunt leave. She bravely covered the rear for everyone. I can't do that either. Kane shook his head repeatedly, with a strange look on his face, as if he had made up his mind. He turned his back and raised his right hand. The knight beside him immediately stepped forward and grabbed Shirley on both sides. What are you going to do? Shirley was confused. I decided to join Field. Your massacre is disgusting. As a lord, even if you don't have any territory, you can't enjoy slaughtering people. Kane said this, feeling relieved. I'm sorry, Madam Shirley. Traitor. You actually betrayed the queen. Shirley was furious. Your stupid behavior will kill countless people. Do you think you can get credit by capturing me and handing me over to Field? He will execute you and feed your family to corpses. Haha, you are talking about the Griffin royal family. Kane couldn't hold it back, they did it. It seems that I don't need to do it. Pifria swung her sleeves lazily and dispersed the thunder that was charged. Wait! There is another fluctuation of divine power. This speed is not bad.